up at noon. And Mick Schaefer will be our guest around 12:30. We'll hear from Andy Reid on a Fast Friday. We got the cuts before the show is over. All that still to come here on this Friday edition. Again, 913-912-4810. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. Josh Brisco not in studio today. And let me tell you how nice the exchange was from Josh Brisco to the face that I got to start my show off with today. In that I'm sitting down, music is playing, the intro's playing, and walking down the hall, it's the beautiful face, the beautiful man, Jarrett Sutton.
Oh.
He walks in, we're shaking hands and happy holidaying and everything, and family all good, and well, let's see about tomorrow, all of that. And I'm like, man, what a face to look across at to start my show. How nice is that? Nothing against the person that typically sits here. Not you, Josh, because you're at Denver Biscuit today. I'm just saying, like, today was really cool to have that little bit of enjoyment, a little candy for the eyes today.
Yeah. Well, look, Jarrett has clearly earned that, and you may have come up with the only single thing that I am now missing, not being at the studio today. Because I'm out here at Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon. That's Denver Biscuit Company in the mornings for some incredible brunch action, and then Fat Soli's New York style pizza and burgers in the afternoons. This whole spot is unbelievable up in Westport. This is the second time that I've been here, and the vibes are awesome. The food is unreal. I have been told that there may be opportunities for me to gorge myself throughout the show.
Oh, cool.
We can break in with some, quick reviews of whatever absolutely unhinged deliciousness they bring over. But that's what they have here. Again, Denver Biscuit Company, it was an immediate jump to the top of my power rankings, much like Baker Mayfield as the 2023 quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams. You can book that, and you can get the best brunch in Kansas City here at Denver Biscuit Company.
Comeback player of the year, Baker Mayfield or Geno Smith? I don't know. It's now a toss-up. Now a toss-up.
Baker had to come back from being on the Panthers this season, so that's his argument.
Baker has gone from commercials in his house in Cleveland to then commercials with his house in Carolina, and now he's got to get back into the commercials with his house in L.A. What a whirlwind for Baker Mayfield. What a fourth quarter it was watching that game last night. But Denver Biscuit, Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon, Westport is where you are hanging out today until 2 o'clock. So that's going on for the listeners, that they can go and check that out and enjoy some of the awesome food that's there. You got something better than Nature Valley protein bar?
Yeah, every single thing, I think, is the answer.
I'm just
also
comparing what I have in front of me maybe for a snack over the next 4 hours to eat during the show versus what you will be enjoying. Roughly the same, I feel like.
Yeah, you got to just get out of here at 2, because then you can come through for the New York style pizza and the burgers. I mean,
nice.
that's the scope here is incredible.
Yeah.
Plus, we're doing some giveaways today. We got some Charlie Hustle gift cards. We got some new 810 T-shirts, and also they got shot specials, Jason, because Denver Biscuit Company Chiefs versus Denver coming up on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
They've got 2 specialty shots. They've got the No Place Like Mahomes shot for $8.10. That's right. That's us. That's our number. And then they have Let's Hide. And that one, I don't know. My only concern with that one is that by watching the Denver Broncos offense this year, I'm pretty sure you're only allowed to take like 1 or 2 real shots a game. So I don't know if they're going to cut you off after one deep shot here like Nathaniel Hackett probably would. But regardless, absolute art being made here at Atomic Cowboy.
Yeah, you can take a couple of shots. You will make no progress whatsoever on the night, and you'll probably end up turning that over later on.
The best turning it over is that's a very eloquent, very kind way of framing that.
Exactly
The best thing to ever start with the word Denver is absolutely Denver Biscuit Company.
Yeah, I had some a couple of weeks ago, and it was awesome, and I'm jealous. So I have exchanged seeing Jarrett Sutton coupled with a protein bar, and you have no Jarrett Sutton but Denver Biscuit Company. I'm not sure who's winning, to be honest with you. So
I got Dylan and Luke. So I have some numbers on my side also. I understand the battle, but you couldn't get me out of here for all the Jarrett Suttons in the world.
If it wasn't in Westport, I would demand Dylan or Luke bring back some nice things to eat today. And you know what? I will gladly exchange this protein bar with them. If they want to bring back some food, I will make an even exchange. You get this protein bar, and I get whatever else you might bring back, even some pizza, whatever it might be. That would be awesome. But Josh is going to be there in Westport over the next 4 hours or so, talking some Chiefs, talking some Raiders, but NFL football overall. Matt Derrick, Kendall Gammon, Mick Schaefer. We'll hear from Lee Sterling later on this hour. I do have a little bit of a baseball take if we get into it. It's tough to do on Fridays, but it ain't going anywhere. So if we don't get into it today, we can get into it some other time. But a little bit as to the hot stove, the free agency period, what's going on, the lack of news regarding the Royals. So some things on that, and that ain't going anywhere because I think the lack of news on the Royals will be around for a while. So they didn't get Jacob deGrom. Pissed. That's my take. There it is. How do you not get deGrom or Verlander? You are a deGrom or Verlander away from winning at least 78 games. And if you can get one of those two guys, whatever it costs, you sell whatever you need to, you back up the Brinks truck, because if you can get to 78 wins, you're really starting to show that you're ready to compete. So I don't know why they didn't do it. I'm pissed off.
Can't believe they let Aaron Judge go too. Come on,
right?
John Sherman. Take a swing.
Come on, man.
Why doesn't he want to be paying? Why doesn't he want to be paying Aaron Judge $40 million in his early 40s? I don't understand. It's like I don't even want to win.
If Sherman really wanted to win, and wasn't just about I want to make money. I'm an owner, and I don't want to lose all of the money that I've built up in my life and
my entire life.
Then you know what? Go get Aaron Judge and Verlander and deGrom and Xander Bogaerts, and make a statement around here that you're ready to go. But no, not going to do that. Just I don't understand. It tells me that they're not winners. If you're not willing to go and pay over $1 billion for those players, then what's the point? What are we even doing here? So that is not my Royals take.
Speaking of bloated contracts that are holding their team back, we are talking about Chiefs Broncos on this Red Friday.
Yes, we are. But we do want to start with Raiders last night.
Have to.
Because, man, I mean, there's analysis that goes along with this, and then there's just fun that goes along with this, and Baker Mayfield and the improbable win last night for the Rams. I mean, they did nothing on the night. I mean, they're losing 16-3. The Raiders didn't do anything either, by the way. I mean, Derek Carr in the second half, I tweeted it out after the game was over. Guy was 2 of 7 for 11 yards and 1 interception in the second half. I mean, they're leading 13-3 at half. And you're 2 of 7, 11 yards and 1 interception. You got Baker Mayfield over there. Like, you don't need much. It's not like we're talking about the AFC Championship game where it's like, all you got was 3 points in the second half. Well, yeah, it's Joe Burrow, it's Jamar Chase, it's T. Higgins. There's some things going on over there. It's a pretty good defense, too. You would like to have that offense do a little bit more. But, I mean, the Rams could do nothing. Like, you just simply had to put a few points on the board, and you were going more than a few points on the board, and you were going to win that thing. And instead, it's in perfect Raiders fashion, because I know a lot of people are talking about the Jerry Tillery play on second down after Max Crosby sacks Baker Mayfield, and the game's essentially going to be over at that point. They're at their own 13-yard line. There's 1:20 to play, no timeouts. You need a touchdown, and the clock is going to be ticking. All right, so you got receivers downfield. They all have to run back. You're going to call the play and get everybody set, and that would have been a third down, I think. Or no, that was first down that he was sacked on. Regardless, you got second or third down, and the clock is running, and you've got to go at that point 87 more yards with probably what would be a 1:10, 1:05, and no timeouts to go in a second and long. The game's probably over there. They don't make that deep throw down the sideline to you spell his name or pronounce it. I'm not Tungavailoa down the Devon Dotson. They don't throw it to him down the sideline if they're just scrambling and doing some of those things. So we talk about the Jerry Tillery play because it's great because they pick him up from the Chargers earlier this year. So you got 2 AFC West contributing there, the Chargers and the Raiders contributing for that one last night. But people are forgetting about the drive before that the Rams scored a touchdown, but they punted on that drive. But they got a first down because Cleveland Farrell was offsides on the punt. And they went and scored a touchdown. Both of the Rams' touchdowns last night in the fourth quarter came essentially via penalty. The Cleveland Farrell penalty gave them – the Raiders got the ball back. The punt had already happened, and the exchange in possession was taking place, and then you see flag, and it's like, oh, it's going to be a holding or something. We got a flag on special teams. We're blocking the back, holding. The guy ran out of bounds for an hour and didn't run back in, whatever it might be. But it's still a 13-point lead for the Raiders, and this game is over. The Rams have done nothing because it was a 3-and-out, and they punted. And then you find out it was an offsides by the Raiders, and they get a first down. And for a little, at that point, just a little bit, I was like, what if they do something here? And we come back and look at Cleveland Farrell's offsides. And instead, Cleveland Farrell is sending a Christmas card to Jerry Tillery and a thank you card, because that's what everybody is discussing, is that Jerry Tillery. And at that point, they still had to go 75 yards in a minute and 20 with no timeouts, and Baker Mayfield is the quarterback running a 2-minute drill when he had been there for 2 minutes before the game started. So Farrell's penalty Jerry Tillery's penalty was pretty bad. But the Raiders had the game was probably over in both of them. Either one of them don't happen, and they probably win the game. But both of them do happen, and the Raiders essentially were eliminated from the playoffs last night. I mean, we talked about whether or not they were going to even get in the playoffs, Josh, that I thought they were a sneaky team to, can get hot, and they were 2 games back in the playoffs, but you had the Jets in front of them. You had the Patriots and Chargers, and so you had these teams in front of them. They had beaten the Chargers, so they're, the tiebreaker wouldn't have worked against them in that scenario. That, if they start winning some games, that Week 18 could be pretty crucial. If the Chiefs want to get the 1 seed, if the Bills lose along the way, and if the Raiders are playing for the playoffs, that could be a massive game. And instead, they lose that one, and now they have a 4% chance to make the playoffs, do the Raiders. And it's a season, Josh, where they were up 23-7 on the Cardinals. They were up 17-0 on the Chiefs and the Jags. They were leading the Rams 16-3 with 3:30 to go. They were playing the Colts when Jeff Saturday went from the broadcast booth to the sideline, or from the high school sideline to the NFL sideline. 5 days later, they played him. And then they play the Rams, where Baker Mayfield flew in and played that day like an AAU player that you're flying in for a tournament on a Saturday. Like, hey, now this guy's coming in from St. Louis. Now he's pretty damn good, so he's going to be here around 10 o'clock. So he should be good for that 11 o'clock tip off for our first game here in the tournament. That was almost like Baker Mayfield, and you lost that game too. There's a lot of talk about Nathaniel Hackett, but Josh McDaniels has done a whole lot of figuring out ways in that Raiders team to lose games where you can make a real case that you play some of these games over, and the Raiders are right there with the Chiefs for first place, and it's the Chiefs and Raiders and all this talk about Adams and what the Raiders can do in signing Chandler Jones. And instead they're not, and we're not, and they have blown some big leads, and it's funny.
Oh, it's high comedy. And the funny thing about it, not the comedy part, but the confusing part of it, I guess, is that I don't like to just say, something went wrong, let's blame the coaches. Because sometimes that's not a terribly informed way of doing it. There's a lot of nuance in that.
True.
Point to something else with this team, though. How can you be making NFL history with the way that you blow leads that you carry into halftime? How can you, everybody go ahead and take a drink here from Denver Biscuit Company back to the station, find a liquid. How can you punt on 4th and 1 from the middle of the field in the early part of the second half, where you have a chance to try to put your foot on the throat of a football team that does not belong out there because of how injured they have been? Their quarterback, it's a great line, is now later running a 2-minute drill after being there for 2 minutes. You can't allow that kind of thing to happen, and it's why those 4th down midfield decisions matter. It's why coaching, something culturally there is so broken. And if you don't believe me, ask Derek Carr. It is really one of the most baffling sort of collapses of an organization that has enough talent to not be embarrassing. And they have been pitiful this year, especially with these leads they've taken in a halftime and then just piddled away.
And I'm happy that took place last night, because it does create a scenario to where the Raiders just might melt down. When you've already got Derek Carr that was, very emotional about people not buying in, the emotional investment wasn't there in the locker room, calling out his teammates, and then this happens. What, are they going to get even more emotionally invested after you realize that your playoff hopes are probably gone? You had won a number of games. You had some momentum heading in. That way you felt like you were an ascending team to go and make some noise. Hey, we just did this last year. We can do it again this year. And then you fall flat on your face, and that happens last night, how do you then pick yourself back up and really go play inspired football against other teams that are going to be trying to make the playoffs? And by week 18, that was the game that I was most worried about was, week 18 for the Chiefs. If there was a loss on the schedule the rest of the way, it was that. Because if the Raiders were to, continue with their momentum heading in the right direction and feel like they were, playing some good football and they were gaining confidence as a football team, that the Chiefs don't all of a sudden go to, Vegas and okay, well, all the Chiefs have to do is win against a team that, do they even want to be there? And is Josh McDaniels going to get fired? And who's losing their job at the end of the season? I thought that was a tough one. And now, after last night, one of my takeaways is the Chiefs should definitely be 5-0. I thought they would anyway. But the game that scared me the most no longer scares me nearly as much as it would have. Not that I would have picked them to lose, but just say, out of these 5 games, what's the most likely loss? I picked the Raiders in Week 18, and not because of a bye week or anything like that. I picked them in Week 18 because how close that game was earlier this year. And if that's a win and you get in for the Raiders, they beat the Chargers last year in the winner gets in, and they went and won that game against the Chargers, who we felt was a better team last year. And so, yeah, that one worried me. Not anymore. Not anymore. There's no excuse for the Chiefs not to be 5-0 the rest of the way.
For all of the absolutely justified grief that we gave to the Colts for the Jeff Saturday thing, somewhere there is an argument that, hey, you can rally around him for a few games. It's something different. It's a different personality type, and he can be at least a professional. They can have all of these players who are out there playing for jobs, right? The Raiders aren't playing for the playoffs anymore, but there are guys out there. For Derek Carr, it might be to become the hottest available free agent quarterback this offseason. Yeah. And for everybody else, it might just be trying to keep your NFL career going. I'm backseat driving, I'm Monday morning quarterbacking, all of those things. But I just can't come up with one single solitary reason I should believe that the Raiders feel like there's anything to play for outside of their own self-interests and trying to keep their career going. And that is about the most damning indictment I think you can deliver to a coaching staff, that there's just absolutely not a lick of fire anywhere in there. And that's what the quarterback, who will legit shed tears in a post-game press conference for all the grief you want to give Derek Carr. Most of it's justified. But at least he cares, man. He wants that team to be better than it is. And he sees a problem in that organization. At this point, I think everybody does.
Yeah, and I don't hate Derek Carr. I mean, I'm fine. I think he's a fine quarterback. I think he gets a lot of grief because he plays for the Raiders and because his brother likes to pump him up, to be better than he actually is. And I get it from the brotherly love. And I'm not sure if David is still going to vote for Derek Carr #1 in the MVP and Heisman this year. I'm not sure if David's going to do that, but we'll see after last night. But I'm fine with Derek Carr, and I think he's,
he's emo Kirk Cousins.
Yes, he could be emo and really emo because he gets really emotional too.
He's just super emo Kirk Cousins. He's like if Kirk
right,
Cousins and Sid from Toy Story were combined into one person.
Yeah, but there's something about that organization, man. We hear the Chiefs players of back in the day saying, "Oh, the Raiders would always make a mistake. You just had to let the Raiders make the mistake. That's what they would do." And they're still doing it. They're still doing it. I do want to talk about Baker Mayfield. We'll do that on the other side of the break. Baker Mayfield, Kadarius Toney should be returning to the Chiefs offense coming up on Sunday. Hopefully Mecole Hardman then returns next week. And if Mecole Hardman returns next week, hopefully Toney is still out there next week. That is something to always to worry about because that's what the Giants had to worry about. And it didn't take long for the Chiefs to have to worry about soft tissue injury with Kadarius Toney. So what difference that can make. And then I saw something that I was going to ignore it because I typically don't pay attention to some specific NFL things during the season, right? We don't talk a whole lot about, let's break down what the roster looks like next year. We do from time to time. Like on Tuesday, we talked about Orlando Brown, Chris Jones, because of specific things that are coming up. But I saw something this morning that made me chuckle, and I knew it would make the skin crawl of one Josh Brisco.
Oh, God, Jason, I don't know what this is,
and
I love that my skin is already crawling.
I love that you don't know.
I do not know what you're talking about.
Yes, I was so afraid that maybe you saw it and you were going to go, I know where you're going. I know.
Nope.
Yes, all right. We'll take a timeout. We'll get into that on the other side of the break. Josh, real quick, where are you hanging out at again?
I'm at Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon in Westport, 4144 Pennsylvania Avenue. I just picked this up for the video feed to take a look as well. They've brought over one of their massive biscuit sandwiches. I think that might be some fried chicken on a biscuit with some with 2 different types of gravy, bacon, couple of eggs, and maybe the best biscuits you're ever going to have. I'm going to go ahead and dig into that during the break, and I'll let you guys kind of do the heavy lifting. I'll try to have the mouthful done by the time the music starts playing.
All right, we'll see if that's the case. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
So check your bags. Make sure you've declared your sausage. That's my lesson of the week.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We'll hear from Lee Sterling coming up in about 10 minutes from now. 913-912-4810. Text says, any chance we get a special edition of Sad Fans on Reddit Raiders?
No, I didn't. I don't have one ready for you.
No, it's all good. That would be great, though. Another text says, this sucks. Said, I didn't think I could hate the Raiders any more than I actually do. I took them in my local establishment eliminator pot. That touchdown cost me $2,500. That's the right play, though, right? If you haven't used the Raiders this year,
Yes.
and you're like, okay, I've got a few games left of the season. I got to use the Raiders once. Yeah, I'm going to use it against the Rams Thursday night when Baker Mayfield is playing, and he got there, the day before. I mean, that's the right play, and they were up 16-3. Yeah, that one hurts, man. That one hurts. Sometimes you're on the right side and you just simply lose. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Why was it just the Raiders that I found myself rooting for Baker Mayfield? Not just the Rams to win, but for Baker Mayfield to succeed. It's odd that I was doing that because I enjoyed so much hating on Baker Mayfield when he was with the Browns. And then it just became sort of out of sight, out of mind with the Panthers. And now it was like, oh, come on, Baker. Come on, Baker. Go get him. Let bake.
Let Mayfield bake. I like let Baker bake. I think you got it in one. I think I tried to put a hat on the hat. You're not alone. You're not alone at all, man. So here's my whole thought process. First of all, I always kind of liked Baker Mayfield a little bit. I think maybe that's unpopular. It's fine. He just has a little bit of dog in him from the quarterback position. He's a little undersized. I don't know. Planting the flag at midfield, I always kind of thought was cool. Whatever. But I think everyone should be rooting for Baker Mayfield right now. Because think about what his last year has been, Jason. He played hurt with a shoulder issue that certainly at least impacted his poor play. He might have just played that poorly as well. But he played hurt, played through it, genuinely, I think, trying to help the team. They ship him out of Cleveland to quarterback hell in Carolina so they can replace him with a serial predator. And now Baker Mayfield, after getting out of Cleveland, after getting out of a short stint of quarterbacking hell in Carolina, he looks like he might actually, what he said post-game, I don't know if you saw the clip whenever Sean McVay gave him one of the game balls, but he said it's good to be home. That I got chills from a quarterback's post-game locker room audio clip. That stuff never gets me. But I really feel like Baker's gotten a raw deal several turns along the way. Hard to be horribly sympathetic for number one overall pick and all of that. I understand the logic people get into there, but he's been in some bad situations and he's finally in a good one. And I really hope he plays some good football for the Rams.
That's just Baker Mayfield being smart business-wise and saying it's glad being home and just getting Progressive fired back up. That's what those Progressive commercials. He's just smart. He's always about branding.
Mother bleeper.
He's always about it's good being home. Wink, wink. Twinkle in the eye.
It's good to be home, where I know all of my possessions and my friends here at SoFi Stadium are protected by the great folks at Progressive. Let's ride. Whoop, that's the other guy. Sorry.
But she's a good egg, though. She's a good egg. So she took her kid out of soccer again. Oh, but she's a good egg. So yeah, I found myself rooting for Baker Mayfield. Maybe it was the story, just the whole surrounding, the Raiders being the team as well. All of it made it fun. And then for some reason, they're in that defense that everybody has been talking about since last night and this morning that allowed, you get a 50-50 shot, or even better than that, because you get one-on-one on the outside and the safety shading over on the inside, like Darren Waller's out there, or Travis Kelce, I should say. Darren Waller, he's been out there for his own team with the Raiders, but if Travis Kelce were out there or something like that. But no, it's the Rams, and they're leaving one-on-one on the outside. So Baker Mayfield takes advantage of it. So we can get into the Chiefs and Tony and McCole and the offense, and we can do that with Matt Derrick. We don't have a lot of time here before we bring on Lee Sterling. So I wanted to at least bring up the thing that I saw that I wanted to talk about that I figured would make your skin crawl.
Okay. All right. I'm bracing myself.
Okay. What I don't do in this time of the season is I don't pay attention to mock drafts. By the way, I love mock drafts. I love mock drafts. I keep track of them every single off season. I've got a spreadsheet of different years' mock drafts and all mock drafts that have changed here and there. And I think it's interesting just to keep track of what people are hearing or where they're guessing things will go. And so CBS Sports, Josh Edwards, not sure, but he works for CBS Sports and he's got a mock draft out. Bryce Young is going number 1 to Houston, and then Jalen Carter from Georgia is going number 2, and Will Levis from Kentucky is going to the Seahawks at number 3. They don't need a quarterback. That's odd. And just I'm scrolling down. I'm like, okay, because I'm really looking at like, okay, what are the edge and offensive tackles that people are taking, right? And at number 28, so he's got the Chiefs picking 29 because it's just going by record right now. So Eagles 32, Bills 31, Vikings 30, and then Chiefs 29. Because Eagles and Bills, because they've got the number 1 seed in the NFC, those two are the two teams in the Super Bowl. And then the Vikings, by way of only having 2 losses right now, are picking 30th. Chiefs 29. Pick number 28 is the Dallas Cowboys. And this would be fun if this guy was on the board or was around where the Chiefs were going to be picking. He's got the Cowboys taking Felix and Udike Uzama. That would be fun. Pro Football Focus has him as the number 21 overall player, so I don't know that he would be there at 32 for the Chiefs next year when they pick. But that would be cool. I would certainly take that. Pick number 29, Josh.
I hope it's a kicker.
Kansas City Chiefs select Bijan Robinson, running back from Texas.
What are we doing?
Getting a running back that's going to be a difference maker because Pacheco needs to be an upgrade. If there's one thing I've seen about the Chiefs this year, the upgrade needs to be at running back. Bijan, I saw that. I'm like, I don't even care about I care about this one. I gotta have this one on the air just for the reaction of Josh.
I'm currently have my face on the bar here at Atomic Cowboy. I've been standing this segment. I got standing energy, and that made me wilt. I am like just doubled over.
I see you.
Hands on my temples. Because if that is a world that we have to live in, and I don't think it will be. I think ultimately what we've learned is whoever that guy is for CBS Sports is not to be trusted. But if the Chiefs even make a legit investment at running back at any point again in my natural lifetime, I am going to have a conniption. Pacheco's great. Pacheco and McKinnon. You know what they should do? Find the next Jerick McKinnon in the 6th round so you can stay with a third down back who can be that guy, maybe great in pass pro, not as explosive. Pacheco and McKinnon are the best duo of running backs the Chiefs have had for their own offense. With Mahomes, maybe Damian Williams, and I don't know who would have been running back 2 through that stretch. Even then they were trying to Sean McCoy. Yeah,
Spencer Ware and
Spencer Ware, yeah. Regardless, I think McKinnon and Pacheco make this offense look pretty comfortable. That's the only part of the offense that does look comfortable right now.
I agree. I just I would have never even brought it up, but the fact that it's running back there at 29, I giggled. He also has the Bills at number 31 taking a running back, taking Gibbs from Alabama at number 31.
Not even that could spoil my appetite, though. Not even that. We have carved up the Franklin biscuit sandwich here at Atomic Cowboy over the break, and I'm going to dig back in because not even a running back in the 1st round could make me turn down an incredible breakfast.
We'll take a timeout. We'll hear from Lee Sterling on the other side of the break.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810.
who's going to win and by how much. You're about to find out from national sports handicapping champion Lee Sterling on The Zone. Log on to ParamountSports.com or call toll-free 800-400-9741 to get started.
Welcome back into The Zone here on this Red Friday on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's time to talk to our good friend Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. Double Down December is rocking and rolling. Lee, how you doing today?
Couldn't be better. I mean, when you're winning, it's fun, and it's been a crazy, crazy year. So, let's look at just your Chiefs, which have been covering machines going over every year over the win total. This year, 8-4, but 5-7 against the spread. So we'll hit that game later. Really got to study each game independently, and got something that I think people are going to like on a lot of these games that we're going to cover today.
All right, let's get right into it. We've got Buffalo and the Jets. You know, the Jets they're just hanging around, trying to get it done. They've had, problems at quarterback, but they just fight, and they gave the Vikings all they wanted last week. But this is a tough task to go up to Buffalo.
It is, and Mike White to the rescue, and he's been pretty darn good the last 2 weeks. 684 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. But let's remember who he's played. The Chicago Bears, number 29 scoring defense, and the Minnesota Vikings, who have allowed the most passing yards in the NFL. He's had a bunch of passes that should have been intercepted, and I think this is the week. Buffalo's got some thieves back there in the secondary. They're going to do a number on him here. Remember, Buffalo also played last Thursday. They get 10 days to prepare for this game. Buffalo beat New England 24-10 in that game. They absolutely dominated the last 45 minutes. Second half, the game was never in doubt here, and December is when the cream usually starts rising to the top. I like Buffalo big here, 35-14.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those games where they want to flex their muscle. I think you're right about that one. All right, San Francisco, big win last week against your Dolphins, but the injuries are piling up out there. You cannot kill Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. They just keep hanging around. What do you think the Niners have this week with a full week to prepare with a new quarterback?
So as great of a job as Brock Purdy did last week stepping in, Tampa Bay now has some film to study on him. Miami really had no clue what to expect. I don't think they spent 5 minutes studying what Brock Purdy does. So when he came in, they didn't know how to attack him. Bucs defense, that's been the constant here. They've allowed only more than 23 points twice this year. I think they'll play well in this game here. Tampa Bay also 10-2 against the spread to the under in their last 12 games, which is crazy. It used to be you bet Aaron Rodgers, you bet Tom Brady, you bet the overs, and you cash, but not the case. Things have changed this year with a lot of teams here. Low-scoring game. I look to the underdog, 3.5 points, which is still out there. I think you grab it. I think Tampa Bay wins this game here outright in a low-scoring game, 19-16.
You just can't get rid of Tom Brady and the Bucs. As much as you try, you just can't do it. Well, the Chiefs can't get rid of the Cincinnati Bengals. They beat them again last week, 3 times in a calendar year. Now the Bengals, maybe it could possibly be kind of a look-ahead game because they got bigger games down the stretch. But the Browns are coming to town, and the Browns are the one team that beats the Bengals. So I don't think there's any look-ahead here, but this is almost a touchdown number for the Bengals at home against their division rival.
And when some people think all of a sudden that Deshaun Watson's going to come out in the second game, play a great game, he looked terrible in the first game. The score was very deceiving. The Browns got touchdowns last week in every way imaginable. Interception return, fumble return, and a punt return here. So he was more than rusty here. He had not played in 700 days here. So I just think that Joe Burrow is rolling right now. You saw last week when he needs a big play, comes up with it. 16-3 touchdown to interception ratio the last 7 games here. Jamar Chase back and from that hip injury, he looked really good here. And then also, what are the Browns going to do? They were lined up in a spread and hiking the ball back to Deshaun Watson. I think they need to put Watson under center. They need to use Nick Chubb in that ground attack and then use play action off of it. And just thinking the spread, hiking the ball back that way, not going to work here. And the Cincinnati run defense has really improved since nose tackle DJ Reader came back into the lineup. I like Cincy, 31-17.
Yeah, Cincinnati has the look of a team on a roll right now. They're getting good at the right time of year, and they're going to be a factor in who's the 1 seed in this AFC for sure. All right, the Miami Dolphins, you were right about this one last week. You said they're going all the way across the country. They're going to lose to the Niners, and they did. They're going across the country again, but they stayed. So they're going to be in L.A. playing the Chargers, but they'll be not traveling and all that stuff. The Dolphins are a favorite here against the Chargers, who are just trying to struggle to stay in the playoff race.
Yeah, sometimes when you follow a team closely like I do living in Miami, you really get to understand a team. Best thing also about the NFL is you can wager on a team 1 week and go against them the next week like I did last week. But time to jump back on the Dolphins here. I think they're going to do you a little favor, dominate the Chargers. Chargers' offensive line has allowed 3 or more sacks in 5 of their 12 games this year. They were already without Rashawn Slater for the year. He's on IR, torn pec. Corey Lindsey, also Trey Pippins III. These 2 guys might play with a concussion, knee injury, but they're a game-time decision here, and you know they can't be 100%, and they're going to face a fierce Miami rush here. Justin Herbert, he just can cover up for a lot of the Chargers' weakness here. We know he's more of a pocket passer, and the Dolphins have had a lot of success, going against guys that are pocket passers. And then on top of that, the Chargers' defense just isn't very good. They ranked 29th in run defense, 26th in total defense. Dolphins couldn't run last week, but without Armstead back, he'll be back, it looks like this week. I think they'll have success running the ball. And Miami, 8-1 straight up, 6-3 against the spread. When Tua starts and finishes a game here, I like Miami on the road here, 35-24.
All right, we're talking to Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. And, Lee, the Chiefs' disappointing loss last week. They had a chance to win it, the fumble, couldn't get it back. The Bengals just have their number right now. But they're going to play a Broncos team that they haven't lost to since Peyton Manning was their quarterback. It's been a long time. I think most people think they're going to win the game, but can they cover 9.5 or 10 points out in Denver?
Well, the exact date was September 17th, 2015. 0-13 straight up for Denver versus Kansas City. Broncos defense, though, has hung in there. Lately, the last 3 games giving up 28, 22, and 22 points. I think the Kansas City offense is really good, but I don't think they're at the levels they were the last couple of years. I mean, you talk about bad trades, and I went back through trades, and there's some more highly talked about trades, but this might be the worst. I mean, Seattle fleeced them here. There was a trade in 1975. I don't know if you remember this. Turned out the Chargers traded away a 34-year-old John Hadle to the Packers for 5 high draft picks. So might be the only trade that was even worse. You got to go way, way, way back here. So Russell Wilson, not the same here, but their special teams have been good. Anything inside the 50, it seems like they're able to convert to a field goal at least. So I just think that they're going to take their time, Denver, slow the clock down, try to run the football. They use 3 different running backs. They interchange guys that, have been different places. You might call them journeymen, but they're doing a decent job here. I think Kansas City wins this game 28-20, but I think this game reminds me of the Dallas game a couple weeks ago against the Giants. Everyone's going to be on Kansas City. They'll win the game. They won't cover. Take the 9.5. I think it's the right side in this game.
All right, Lee, you've got a game of the week for us, and you've also got some details about Double Down December.
Yep, game of the week this weekend, and this is a game that, most people are going to look at and say, I can't find a winner. I think I can. Pittsburgh's playing at Baltimore. You want to get that winner? Call 800-400-9741. Give you the Pittsburgh-Baltimore game. Big game for Baltimore. They need to keep winning with Lamar Jackson out. Can they get it done? Or can Pittsburgh go into Baltimore and come away with a win as a small 2.5-point favorite? Call 800-400-9741. We've been on a roll, 13 out of 17 winning weeks. NFL, that's all there is, really going this weekend. So if you want to hop on board, we've won every single weekend except for 2 in the NFL. So double down December. Everything we've got through December 31st, 3 weeks of the NFL. College bowl games, 37 bowl games through December 31st. Just $297. One place, ParamountSports.com.
All right, Lee, good luck this week, buddy.
Thanks so much.
All right, that's Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. More Zone coming up next with Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest on Sports Radio 810 WHB on a Red Friday.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson
That's a clown take, bro.
on Sports Radio 810.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards, hanging out with Matt Derrick for the hour. Let's hear again, Josh Brisco. Where are you at? What's going on? And What are you now enjoying? Because, I know I'm already going to be annoyed at whatever you're going to be eating or are eating, and knowing that there's nobody out there that cares enough about me to bring some of the food back. We could have had some here for Matt and myself and Beards enjoying it. But you know what? We'll just take you describing it like we're watching a baking show on Food Network.
Yeah. I'm all about the Food Network shows. I love Bake Off as well, so I'm going to try to do my best throughout the show today. Because where I am at is at Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon. That's Denver Biscuit Company. That's Fat Sully's. And what I'm doing here is having the time of my life. I just demolished the Franklin. That was a little hot chicken on a 2-story biscuit sandwich with some eggs, some bacon. There was the mushroom gravy and the meat gravy. I think I missed an ingredient in there somewhere, something delicious. Legitimately, there are so many things you have to do, like sort of a dinosaur excavation to see everything stacked up. And every single thing I've ever eaten here has been unreal. It sort of seems like. Have you ever watched Spirited Away? I don't know. Here's a movie that I've seen that maybe you haven't. It's basically cartoon food. That's what I'm getting at. It's food that you would come up with in the most brave cooking show of all time, and then it's executed to perfection. It's unreal. I really think this is the coolest brunch spot in Kansas City with the best brunch food in Kansas City, and I know I'm going to get a chance to try the pizza and burgers from Fat Sully's later on as well. It's Denver Biscuit Company for breakfast and brunch. And then lunch and in afternoons and evenings, it's Fat Sully's. Plus, there's ice cream. They've got the special shots going on all day. Today, Saturday, and Sunday, they've got special shots for $8.10. That's us, $8.10. You can get the No Place Like Mahomes drink. And also, for $8.10, Let's Hide. Best thing to come out of Denver, the Denver Biscuit Company. My God, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Oh, man. Matt, are you going to enjoy a nice granola bar like I will for lunch and something to
man, I tell you,
keep the stomach from growling while you're on the air for 4 hours, and other things we'll be growling about because dadgummit they lost to the Bengals. But
I was on Matt Derrick time today, which
you were here just on time.
On time. Which means I didn't get breakfast this morning, and I heard Brisco on the way in talking about that chicken biscuit.
Oh,
and I wanted to just reach through the radio and
strangle him
and steal his sandwich.
Yeah, not to eat
his biscuit sandwich.
I missed the address. If you want to come strangle me and get delicious food, 4144 Pennsylvania Avenue in Westport. You can strangle me and get delicious food, Matt. You come on out. You can get here during a break, I think.
I should certainly be able to swing by there on my way to practice or way to the
I thought maybe you
facility,
would on your way south you might just swing in there, just take a different route.
I was on Matt Derrick time, so
just take 71 south and swing on in there, grab you something to eat there, and then get back on and head over 435 over west to come here.
I know if I knew what was going on, I just joined Brisco for the remote, and you could be back here by yourself.
Hey, that's a good point. There was no. You're right. Why would you need to swing by and then come here? Because then you could just head over to the stadium.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's on that. You know what? That's on Beards and Brisco, not letting you know.
Yeah.
Next time, Matt,
because
Lord willing, and the gravy don't rise, we'll do this again sometime, and I'll make sure you get the invite.
Well, because it's a shorter drive for Matt, and he gets to enjoy that, and then it becomes a shorter drive to Arrowhead after the show.
That's 3 wins right there.
Yeah, well,
that's like Matt, how many stories you have on a biscuit sandwich.
That's right. That's a win-win-win, like every single sandwich I've ever had here.
Oh yeah, so there you go.
Sorry, Matt.
Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon, Denver Biscuit, Fat Sully's. It's on Pennsylvania Avenue in Westport, 4144, where Josh will be there throughout the show, enjoying
I might honestly be here Monday, too, just on the phone. I don't know. I might not leave.
We're just going to start.
We've lost Brisco, too.
We're just going to start giving him make goods for not even make goods, just random remotes. We're here at the Atomic Cowboy. Boy, they are spending a lot of money with you guys. You guys have been there 4 days in a row. All of a sudden, Chad's trying to figure out, our books are saying we haven't received any money. Boy, they owe us for 5 remotes. Nah, those were just on the house. Those were just us kind of wanting to go and eat anyway.
Some of the booths look really comfortable. They got a couple of pool tables in here as well. Again, it's just an incredibly cool vibe. I'm thinking I could probably turn one of those into a cot, though, and I don't even know that they would know that I was here if I hid well enough.
That's right. I mean, plenty of people have slept at the office in radio, so, I mean, you can do that there.
This is my version of sleeping at the office.
That's right, because Lord knows you wouldn't do that. Chiefs Digest, Matt Derrick is here with us. All right, Matt, I don't want to talk specifically about the game from Sunday. But I do want to ask you of issues that may have come from that game. Death knells, like issues that are season-ending worries or anything like that. Coming out of that game, where are you at with certain topics that have been discussed a lot this week?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that came out of that Bengals game, I think, that should surprise anybody. I mean, it was more just answering some questions that we had. One of those questions was, to me, hey, was the Chiefs pass rush that maybe we saw in the last 5 or 6 games for real? Or is it maybe a little bit of a mirage? I think we know it's a little bit of a mirage.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs pass rush is what we thought it was. I mean, offensively, I think it still comes back. I mean, you know what this team is offensively. You know what that they can do. The question was whether they had learned all of their lessons from the Bengals' losses last year. And I think the answer to that is they still haven't learned them yet. And one of those is specifically just taking what's being given sometimes. And if you do that, I think you can beat the Bengals. It's just a matter of playing a full 60 minutes of disciplined football against that team. And I don't think the Chiefs have done that yet. Can they do it against other teams? Yeah, I mean, they can. I mean, there's the Bengals, for whatever reason, pose a matchup problem. And there's a few different reasons for that, I think. But they're not insurmountable. Chiefs can beat them, and there's no reason why that the Chiefs still can't get to their goal.
So there's a lot of meat on the bone of what you were just saying. I was writing all the stuff down that you were talking about, and so there's like 10 things that I can go from there. Before we get into like specific some of those things, you one of the things that the Indians said Bengals matchup problems. There's a few things as to why that is. What are you seeing then in these 3 games as to what the bad matchup styles make fights? Why it's just not oil and water right now for the Chiefs and Bengals. It's not meshing.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the Chiefs pass rush, still being an issue. And they were still able to get some pressure on Burrow, but they're still not to a point where they've got either the players, the discipline, the temperament, the technique, whatever it may be, to contain him and get him on the ground. Other teams have.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no mystery. It's not like Joe Burrow is the most elusive player in the history of mankind, because other teams get him on the ground.
Weird, huh?
Why can't the Chiefs?
That's odd, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And the Chiefs can get other quarterbacks on the ground. So what is it about Burrow? I mean, it's not like he just, puts on a bunch of slippery slime for the Chiefs that makes him unable to get on the ground.
I wish he did, and they found out that was the case. And it's like, we
knew illegal
it.
use of slime, 15 yards.
We knew it. I brought this up, maybe it was last week or Monday. I can't remember. The days run together. When the Broncos came out for the game, and they had like Crisco on there, and the refs saw that, and they had to send it back in to change their jersey.
Those were the good old days. Those were the good old days.
I don't think Burrow is doing that, but
don't
somehow
think so.
He's able to slip away from the Chiefs. So yeah, I mean there are certainly some matchup problems. But so we talk. One of the first things you mentioned was pass rush. Is that going to be something that has improved, or was it a little bit of a mirage? And we can see a little bit of a mirage, at least in the Bengals matchup. My question, though, coming out of that game then and wondering, death knell, something like that, is so if the pass rush can be a little bit of a mirage and maybe it was matchup created as opposed to just simply being, hey, these guys are able to get to the quarterback regardless of matchup. Could that be considered a fatal flaw? That if they get into a game to where they're just not putting pressure on the quarterback and it's one of those games to where they're not doing it and match up here, match up there, that they don't have a Chandler Jones, Max Crosby. I mean, nobody's got a Von Miller right now, but players that like one-on-one, they're going to go and win that matchup. We know they have Chris Jones, but they have one of them, and there's not anybody else that seems to be stepping up. So could that be considered a fatal flaw that, can bite them when it comes down to a 50-50 game and one play here or there is the difference?
It could be, because I go back to this offseason. I think we had probably this specific conversation. And I said at the time that if we're sitting back and talking about the Chiefs not winning a Super Bowl this year, then I think we're probably going to be talking about one of two things. We're going to be saying that Mahomes and his new receivers just never meshed. They missed Tyreek Hill too much. It just couldn't overcome that. That clearly has not been the case. And the other reason we'd be sitting here would be saying Chiefs' defensive line wasn't any better than it was last year, and it hurt them at the wrong time, and that's what eventually knocks them out. That could be the case. I mean, you face the Bengals again in the postseason. That could certainly be the case. There's probably some other teams that would give them a similar mismatch. But I do look at it and I say, hey, you know what? The Chiefs, Chris Jones has been the one consistent pass rush generator. And you see what happens when a team says, no, he's not going to do anything. We're going to take him out of the game completely. You see, right now, there's nobody else that's going to step up and win their matchups and get the quarterback on the ground. You've got to be able to blitz. Well, the Chiefs were blitzing some inferior quarterbacks over the last few weeks. They faced a couple of backup quarterbacks in that stretch, had some success. Burrow is not that guy. And the Chiefs were more conservative. I think, and honestly, I think with their personnel, one of the things that we're probably not looking at in this game as much is that Chiefs had a pretty good game plan for the Bengals. As probably as the
back end, it felt like they did.
The best game plan that they've had. Yeah, they got off to a rough start, but they made some good adjustments. They got things in a roll, and their defense kept them in the game. And you did not see the big plays, the big chunk plays that the Bengals have had in the past. Chiefs were bound and determined to keep the Bengals in front of them. Say, if you're going to beat us, it's going to be with 1,000 cuts. Well, the Bengals did that. So, but conversely, did the Chiefs? That's where I think that, the offense let them down.
Yeah, so the adjustments being made because the Chiefs give up 14 points in the first 2 drives of the game to the Bengals. They give up 13 the rest of the way. Now, one of those, ends up being the deciding drive and scoring a touchdown where the Chiefs fumble, but you needed the defense to step up and get a stop and not give up a touchdown, but they didn't. And they, force a couple of field goals the rest of the way. They make a phenomenal play before halftime, does Carlos Dunlap. And the defensive line overall makes a phenomenal play because it's 3rd and 1. And they give up a half yard to Joe Burrow in the QB sneak. We talk about the 4th and a half yard Carlos Dunlap play, but how often is Joe Burrow stopped on a 3rd and short, 3rd and 1 quarterback sneak? Not very often, but the Chiefs' defensive line did that and only gave up the half yard, which then created the 4th and a half yard play that was made. So they stepped up and they made plays at certain times, and I don't think it's all negative to come away from the game that it's, oh my God, the sky is falling. What are you doing? What's the issue with this whole team? It's because it's the Bengals and it's 3 games, and it's a game to where you say Bills, Bengals, Chiefs. Odds are you're going to have to face at least one of those teams, and you might have to face both of them in the playoffs. So do you have enough? Are you playing at a level, coaching, preparing at a level, and personnel at a level to where you could beat both? Because I would wonder what's going on in Cincy and Buffalo, where if they're having conversations about the playoffs and they say, okay, is this team good enough to beat Buffalo and Kansas City again in the playoffs? Can they beat Kansas City again in the playoffs in Buffalo if you've got to go there? And Buffalo, is this team good enough to beat Kansas City and Cincinnati? Can this team win 2 in a row against those teams? Somebody's going to. Somebody's going to win at least 2 games in a row to get to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. It's going to happen. And it's just like when we get to the Final Four in the NCAA tournament. Like if you've got 4 stud teams and you're like, okay, which team is going to be able to win 2 games this weekend? Because only one of them can do that. Which team is going to figure out how to win 2 games this weekend? And it's tough because it can come down to a play here, a play there. We've seen national championship games, and we've seen it certainly here in Kansas City with a play or 2. If Travis Kelce doesn't fumble on Sunday, do they win the game? I think they do. But we're also talking about a brilliant, amazing, greatest game we've ever seen against the Buffalo Bills in the divisional round that the Chiefs won, where if one of those final 3 possessions they fumble, they lose. They didn't, and they won. So is it a random thing that happens? Or is it there are game situations, and for some reason, against the Bengals, the Chiefs haven't made them. The Bengals have, where against the Bills in the playoffs, they did in that matchup.
Yeah, and I see so many. There was a lot of and I know they're jokes and everything like that at the sides, after the game saying, "Hey, it's not really a rivalry when one team wins 3 in a row."
Yeah, I hate that, and I also hate that when it was KU and K-State in basketball. It's not a rivalry when K-State can't win against K. Yes, it is.
You're talking about 3 games that all came down to 3-point decisions, 2 of them on the road, 1 in overtime. You're talking about a narrow breadth between these 2 teams. The 0-3 against the Bengals doesn't concern me as much as 1-6 against the Bengals and Bills in your last 6 games against those 2 teams. The Chiefs have ripped through the rest of the league for the most part in the last couple of seasons. I mean, yeah, the Colts game I still can't explain.
Nobody can.
And the Chiefs had a really bad stretch last year in the middle of the season when the offense wasn't playing well. But other than that, I mean, they've proven that there's only 2 teams in the AFC that can compete with them. And you're in pretty good shape there. But what's happened in the last 2 years that this team has gone from beating those teams that they used to beat, the good teams, to now being 1-5 against those in the last 6? Maybe it is just a bad stretch. Maybe it's just a bad series of matchups. I mean, and they've all been close games for the most part. But I mean, you're right. I mean, those are the two games you're going to have to win. And right now, I have complete faith the Chiefs are going to beat almost anybody except the Bengals and the Bills. Those are the only 2 I have any questions about them being able to beat.
And part of the frustration that comes in with this series between, Chiefs and Bengals is those 3 games, 3 losses, all by a field goal. All 3 games, the Bengals had the ball last. The Chiefs never – now, overtime, Chiefs got the ball first. So there is no – I mean, the Bengals did have the ball last to go kick the field goal to win, but it's not like they won the coin flip and then they went and scored. Chiefs had the ball last at the end of possession, or end of the regulation, I should say, and then they had the ball first in overtime. So that one's kind of a technically it qualifies, but I can even, kick that one out. But both games in Cincinnati, the Bengals had the ball last in the regular season, and then they didn't just let them score when it was like, you got to let them score. Just let them score the touchdown. That's the only way you're going to do this. You got to let them score. And there was some different things that came out of that game as well with, officials and was it a hold, was it a false start, all that stuff. And then this one, the Chiefs never got the ball back after the missed field goal. So it's like you can compliment the defense and say, they gave up 14 to start the game and then 13 the rest of the way. And you can compliment the defense because it's like, well, yeah, the Chiefs defense gave up 24 points in regulation against the Bengals. Like all the offense had to do was score, 6 points in the second half. And they win that game and they didn't. But at the end of the day, you're also talking about 3 games in which the defense couldn't get a stop when they had to get the ball back to the offense.
And you're asking about fatal flaws, and I think that's a good topic because I think that the Chiefs' offense does have one fatal flaw. And, and to me, I mean, hey, maybe there's a Ted Lasso here moment and learning moment for the Chiefs.
You saying be a goldfish?
Well, they do need to be a goldfish, but you know what? Let's make that extra pass. And I'm being metaphorical here because it's not about Mahomes making an extra pass. It's about what we always talk about, taking what you're given. And the Chiefs on that final drive, I thought they learned it. I thought Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are going to do it right here because they've got 8 minutes and 54 seconds to drain off the clock. I saw the beginning of that drive when it's a quick pass to Kelsey, Pacheco, McKinnon.
Yeah.
Quick pass to Kelsey, Pacheco, McKinnon. I'm like, they're going to do it. They're running the clock down under 10 seconds after every play. They're staying in bounds. They're going to run 8.5 minutes off this clock. They're going to get down here. They're going to punch it in the end zone. They're going to give Joe Burrow 26 seconds and let him have a chance to try and Grim Reaper somebody. And what do? First down, it's a play where they're looking for a chunk downfield. They're looking to try and push the ball. Put yourself into 2nd and 10. You don't want to be in 2nd and 10 in that situation. Get a little bit. Now it's 3rd and 3, right?
3rd and 3.
3rd and 3. You need 3 yards. The Bengals were giving them 3. The Bengals gave them 3 yards on every single play on that drive.
And that's what's kind of frustrating, too. It's like, well, you should have done this, should have done that. And do you hit McKinnon out of the backfield, which we've talked about? And the all-22 that I watched makes me less convinced that McKinnon picks up the first down because the guy was closer than it looked in real time and even from the view from the end zone. The all-22 was like, okay, he was only a yard past the sticks. McKinnon was 4 yards short of the sticks.
I have faith in McKinnon and squeezing his way
past
agree. That.
I think he does pick up I think he does. But to say, well, you got to immediately throw it to McKinnon there when the Chiefs schemed open not 1, but 2 wide open players over the middle to pick up the first down if they had a left tackle that just would have given him a little bit more time. Kelsey and Juju were both unguarded in the middle, and the Bengals dropped 8. And they still schemed 2 players wide open over the middle to pick up the first down. So take what the defense is giving you. Totally agree with that. On 3rd and 3, I think they did. And then a player for the Bengals went and made an individual one-on-one play and won, which is something the Chiefs front 7, front 6 didn't really do at all that night.
And I get that, and some of my my caveat to that would be, take what the defense gives you, but also take what your offense allows you. I mean, if your offensive line's getting beat, and they were getting beat, there was no reason to expect that even with a 3-man rush, all of a sudden Patrick Mahomes was going to have all day to find somebody.
Because on 1st and 10 on that same set of downs, you had to throw it away because that same guy got beat.
But because we talk about the frustration when you see a receiver when you've got it 3rd and 10, and you're like, why did you run 9 yards when you need 10? Why did you cut your route short and end up getting 1 yard short because you didn't run to the sticks? Same thing. Why are you looking for a 25-yard gain when you need 3 yards? And, I mean, I'm now convinced the more and more I see it, I mean, if you're in the final 2 minutes of the game against the Chiefs, or, in this case, I mean, the final 8 minutes, I mean, if it's crunch time against the Chiefs, why do you try and stop anything short? Because the Chiefs at this point have not proven to you that they can do that. You do what the Bengals did. You rush 3, you drop 8, you do what they did, and you just say, tell you what, if you want to move down the field 2 and 3 yards at a clip, 4 yards here, and pick up first downs and everything like that, if you want to do that, we're going to give it to you. We don't think that you're disciplined enough to do that, though. Well, and they weren't.
And
whose fault is that, Matt?
Yours, Josh. It's yours.
I think it's a group blame. I mean, I don't know why you call plays in that situation where you've gotten. I mean, you're designed to go deep. I mean, there's no doubt that 1st and 3rd play calls were not designed for small gains. They were designed for big gains.
The 3rd and 3, there were Travis Kelce was open right over the middle, just past the sticks, and so was Juju Smith-Schuster. I think that was the read. And if Mahomes had a little bit more time, I think it's a 6, 7, 8 yard gain, based on Kelce just simply catching the ball and turning and running.
But when did you expect that your quarterback was going to have 3.5 seconds to pass? Because he had not had it all day.
Well, it's not only 3.5 seconds. Like, literally from Travis Kelce running from lined up on the line of scrimmage to just past the sticks that were 3 yards away, Mahomes was already having to bail because Kelce hadn't got to the point to where he could look back at the quarterback by the time Mahomes was already getting out of there. Maybe the mistake is Allegretti needed to be over there with Orlando Brown, which is absurd that your backup left guard needs to help out your left tackle that wants to be the highest paid player.
I mean, there were a lot of flaws. I mean, hey, Kelce was going to be open. There was also going to be a man in between him. I mean, there was a spy right in the middle of it. So, and that's what Mahomes was trying to do, was to try and change the spacing and everything like that, so he could get the spy out.
Well, and that's why Mahomes, when he rolled left, couldn't throw it then to Kelce, who was open, because I believe it was Hubbard that was standing right between him and Kelce.
There. Yeah, he was designed. But that's what the Bengals were doing.
That's why Mahomes then had to cut it up to start to run towards the line of scrimmage. If Hubbard's not there, then I think he hits Kelce right when he turns left. But he
was
doesn't.
The Bengals' plan. The Bengals' plan was to say, you know what, we're going to make sure that Hubbard is in between Mahomes and the field, because that's what they know. They know that the Chiefs can't resist.
So before we take a break, I do want to, Josh brought up the question, and I think it's a good one, of whose fault is it? You say collectively, is this just something that, it's always 10 years from now, we'll be talking about, Mahomes had that guy underneath. It looked like he had that guy underneath, and, he's making that big play. I mean, he's talked about it, and Andy Reid's talked about it, and everybody's talked about it, of just like taking what the defense is giving you. And I just think there's in the DNA of Patrick Mahomes that it's just going to be, this is going to be open. Well, I'm going to pass up that 4 yards, and I'm going to go here. And then late in the game, then it's, I can't do that. I'm taking exactly what's there every time. It's Kelce underneath. It's a little swing pass if need to. It's, again, Kelce underneath, and I'm going to do this on down the field. But in the middle of the game, is that happening? Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's, take what the defense gives you, if there is ever going to be a Chiefs team quarterbacked by Patrick Mahomes. And it's something I would gladly exchange, by the way, by having Patrick Mahomes. That is just simply, for 60 minutes he took. I shouldn't say that. I'm going to contradict myself, because I think he played almost a perfect game against the Bills in the divisional round. Yeah. I think he was in charge. He took what the defense gave him for 65 minutes, whatever many minutes it was in overtime, for them to go down and score. I thought it was a brilliant, brilliant football game played by Patrick Mahomes, that he never really tried to do too much. He stayed in the pocket when need be. He had a feel for the rush to then bail when need be. It was just a brilliant. Anybody else quarterbacking the Chiefs loses that game to the Bills and Josh Allen.
I have a hot take, complicated answer to that question.
You want to do it after the break?
I can do it after the break.
We'll take a timeout. We'll get a hot take, complicated answer, because I don't think we have hot take, complicated answers in this first segment to get to. Enough time, at least. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear that hot take, complicated answer from Matt Derrick. We'll talk about the Broncos and a question that I'll have on the line of scrimmage and see which side he feels like might be the most likely to do something the rest of the year. We'll explain what that is coming up next. More Zone with Matt Derrick next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
If what you're saying is true, then that means I still don't care.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, so we're gonna try to peel Matt away from the TV because
yes, I know it's been a thriller.
In the
I've been
World
watching
Cup
it here
right
at
now.
Atomic Cowboy.
I tell you
Yes.
what, the trees out here
Matt,
are beautiful.
I go crazy in the break. I'm like, oh my god! And Matt's like, I'm not looking. I'm not even going to look.
Is that a fir tree?
Not even
you
going
should,
to
you
look.
should decorate that for Christmas.
Those that may not know, that are just maybe
Matt
driving
Neymar,
around.
the equalizer.
I know.
From
So
Croatia, I think.
Croatia and Brazil are playing in the World Cup, and it was 0-0 at the end of regulation, and they play two 15-minute extra times or added time, whatever you want to call it, overtimes. And Brazil scored in the 106th,
I think?
106th, I think.
Something like that?
Yeah, 106th minute of the first overtime, and it's not a do or die. Whatever the score is, doesn't matter. They play one more 15-minute session regardless. And Croatia scored in the 117th minute to tie it up 1-1. And there is now 1 minute of stoppage time added. And in the next 45 seconds, or 2 minutes, I should say, in the next minute 45, if Croatia or Brazil does not score, it will be a penalty shootout to
This
win.
is just like that World Series game that was tied after 12 innings, and they went to a home run derby.
Which was great. I mean, that's why you pay for Aaron Judge. Things like that.
Matt, if you're not looking at that screen, maybe I could interest you in looking at your phone real quick. Any of you three in
I
there.
I saw pictures from you.
All of you. The
I
new
adored
addition
it.
here. You see that three
New
layer
addition is there?
stack sandwich? Yeah, new addition's here. It's
Oh,
awesome.
that's
We're bumping.
The fudge.
That sandwich is catfish. Do you ever think about a biscuit sandwich with catfish?
Dude, now
well,
you're
I'm
making
about
me
halfway
mad.
through it. It's unreal. I mean, like it is stupid, and I'm just so happy to be here.
Now you are making me mad. Memorial Day family reunion for the in-laws, wife's family, all from Paris, Tennessee, which is where Luke Hochaver's wife is from, by the way. Paris, Tennessee. Luke and I have had a conversation about that, his wife being from Paris. They have the biggest catfish, fish fry every year there in Paris. Small town, just about 30 minutes south of Murray State University. And we go down there, and the only thing that's worth the long drive there and back, besides seeing her family, which is lovely and great, is just filling and stuffing my face with catfish the entire
Hey,
weekend.
you ever wish your catfish cornmeal breading was crispier than it ever was? Everybody, please hold.
Oh, well,
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm eating on the radio. This is the dream.
Just nothing better than hanging out on the zone with you two eating.
You too?
Bono's
too?
here.
I'm not eating. All right.
I'm gonna have to show this picture though to Trey Smith because
Yeah.
yesterday we were in the locker room
really?
talking about catfish. So
Really? Oh.
Tell them to meet me out here. You can tell them I live at 4144 Pennsylvania Avenue. I don't have to look at their address anymore. I've had that committed to memory now. I barely remember my own address.
All right, so hot take, complicated answer to the
Complicated
discussion
answer.
we had in the previous segment.
Is the answer more biscuits?
About what will we be 10 years from now? What will we look back on as
This season
and this era? And here's what I say because I realize I'm still in a minority about this, but I still say if you go back and you watch some of those Eagles games that Andy Reid got blamed for back in the day for mismanaging the clock and the play calling and everything, even the Super Bowl, you go back and look at it, I'll tell you what, I still and part of this contention is based on my belief that Donovan McNabb was a good quarterback that Andy Reid made better. Donovan McNabb was doing what Donovan McNabb does. And I'll tell you what, if you go back and look at that Super Bowl game, you will, as a Chiefs fan, you will say, I know this because I saw Alex Smith doing this every single game. He was Alex Smith because Andy Reid made him better than he was. Alex Smith was better with Andy Reid than he ever was before. Andy Reid does that. He takes good quarterbacks and makes them great. Great quarterbacks he turns into Hall of Famers. That's what he does. And like I said, I realize I'm in a minority on this, but I still contend. You go back and you look at what those Eagles teams were. Andy Reid took them further than they had any right to go as far as they were, especially offensively. if we look back 10 years from now and Patrick Mahomes has one Super Bowl ring, then yeah, you're going to look back on this and say, you know what? They left it on the table because there were things that they didn't do. There were things that they were offensively incapable of doing. And I think one of the things they're going to say is that they probably tried to push the ball too much. I mean, that's in their DNA, but they got too greedy. Sometimes they just couldn't move the football. But we also know that if Patrick Mahomes wins 6 rings, nobody's going to care about the ones he didn't win. Because does anybody talk about the ones that Tom Brady didn't win?
Only the Mannings. Only Eli.
But they don't talk about that being on Tom Brady. They don't blame Tom Brady for that.
No, it's the helmet catch.
Yeah.
And it
took miracles to beat him and everything.
Right, even though it was some lower scoring games. So where Brady could have...
He doesn't get the blame for any of
He
those.
could have made the helmet catch, immaterial if they would have scored more points.
Winning takes care of everything.
Yeah, and when you win 7 of them, it certainly helps. What's more likely to improve the rest of the year then? Is it the protection for Patrick Mahomes or is it the pass rush?
Good question. I mean,
nice.
I think there's only one way that either one of them can improve. And that's scheming around them. And I think it's a lot easier to scheme around a insufficient pass rush than it is to scheme around blocking that struggles at times. I mean, there's certainly things you can do, but once again, getting rid of the football quickly isn't necessarily one of the things that you want Patrick Mahomes to do.
It's a good point because, you say, well, you can chip and you can have, a tight end over there. You can do some different things.
Taking somebody out of a play.
Right, but they did that on 1st and 10 on that last set of downs.
They did.
They even chipped, and he still got beat quickly by Hendrickson, which made Mahomes escape and then roll to his left. And Hendrickson, smart enough to say, well, I'm going to take an angle to where he can't turn the corner. I'm also going to take an angle to where he can't just stop and turn around and head the other way. That was just smart pursuit angle by Hendrickson. It'd be nice if somebody on the Chiefs defense had that in that game against the Bengals, understanding of angles and leverage and pursuit and things like that. But they did chip on Hendrickson on that play, and he still blew up the play.
That was a really good question you had the other day, and I can't remember who you were asking, but it was, I think, which would you rather have? Was it, I think, a dominant...
Oh, it was Cynthia Freeland.
Yeah, I thought it was Cynthia. The dominant edge rusher or just a bunch of guys who can get at the quarterback. Bengals are a pretty good example of, I think, you got just a bunch of guys that can get at the quarterback. Because they don't have anybody as good as Chris Jones.
Hendrickson is the star of that defensive line, and he was a big free agent signing because they had to
He's
go.
not Chris Jones.
Oh, absolutely. No, not at all. I'm sort of saying I'm agreeing and saying that.
Oh, I'm agreeing with you.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
No, I'm agreeing with both of you.
Yeah,
You're
Beards.
both dumb.
Who are you
I
agreeing
agree
with?
that Josh needs to have that food stolen out of his mouth right now.
I agree. I disagree because I totally agree. That's the disagreement that we're having is really the agreement. And so Hendrickson is the star, and he's a good player. And I thought maybe the Bengals overpaid for Trey Hendrickson when they went and got him in free agency. Turns out they didn't because he's been massive for that team. And is it better to have 4 guys that are average or above average across the line that can rush the passer, or an elite player and 3 just a guy, replaceable, nothing really special or stands out about those guys, but one elite guy who is just a game wrecker himself?
And we might find that out for sure in Kansas City because, 3 years from now, this defensive line might very well be the exact opposite because they're going to put some resources. They're going to put some money. They're going to put some draft picks into this defensive line. They're going to try and get younger. They're going to try and get better. And they may have, 3 years from now, they might have 4 guys who are better than maybe their number 3 edge rusher right now, their number 3 pass rusher, whomever you may think that may be. They may have 4 guys better than that guy right now, but they may not have anybody as good as Chris Jones, and they might be better collectively.
You guys have been doing a lot of agreeing. Can I disagree with something?
Please, go ahead.
Feels?
Yes,
Lay it on us,
yes,
and then we
it.
will double team you.
Beards, you can just save that one for later.
Mike,
we'll hear
that one in
just
about 2 hours.
That staggered me. I've been standing because I'm trying to keep the energy, where it needs to be, and you just actually almost fell over.
Could have been worse.
Thank you, Matt.
You're just tuning in. You'll hear that in 2 hours from now.
Yep, sure will. Here's the thing that I keep coming back to is that it's a little bit of a false choice, right? It's kind of funny because this year in terms of active roster total cap numbers, the Chiefs and Bengals are 1st and 4th in the NFL on their defensive line spending. So that one I think is interesting because you could say, hey, it's more money spread around as opposed to being more top-heavy. But the Chiefs' biggest issue is all the money they spent on Frank Clark not getting anywhere near that return. I mean, I don't think this was a philosophical thing that the Chiefs did. They found a way to build their team with a superstar defensive tackle and someone who they thought was going to be a top 10 edge rusher, and then he just didn't become or didn't maintain that as a top 10 edge rusher. So I just don't think it's a philosophical thing they did. I think this is the cost of taking a huge swing on draft picks and money on Frank Clark and then him not performing to that level. And
taking a huge swing on a rookie contract to win the Super Bowl, which they did.
That's the key, because...
Yeah, but we're not talking about their defense in 2018, 19, 20. We're talking about their defense right now and next year.
Right,
right?
But right, absolutely, but those are connected, though.
But
because we are talking about the money spent on Frank Clark, which we, if you're talking about it in 18, 19, and 20, you also know in 2022 there's... So if they re-sign Chris Jones to a long-term deal, it might be awesome for 23 and 24, but we would also have to acknowledge 25 and 26, they may have diminishing returns on the on what they're spending on the cap.
Yeah, that's true for any contract, especially for guys like third deals. You have to figure out when you think that drop-off's going to be. I'm not trying to relitigate the Frank Clark trade as either, fundamentally good or fundamentally evil. I'm just saying with where the Chiefs are at right now, the issues they have are because they went to go get 2 stars and to kind of cobble the rest together, and Clark isn't that guy right now, so that's where your problem is at.
And here's where I think it's philosophical, is that their philosophy when they picked up Frank Clark was the concept, this is the one player that we're away from winning a Super Bowl. And now I think their philosophy this offseason is going to be, we're not one defensive edge rusher away from dominating and winning a bunch of Super Bowls. We need 4 guys on the defensive line to go win a Super Bowl and win a bunch of Super Bowls, not just one ring.
So is that leading you more to say that Chris Jones is going to be traded in the offseason, more likely to be traded than extended this offseason if they take the Tyreek Hill route instead of the previous Chris Jones route when they paid him on the franchise tag?
I think keeping Chris Jones from just an objective standpoint and looking at it, keeping him is probably an emotional decision, and letting him go would be probably, or trading him would be the objectively reasonable decision. Not saying either one's going to be right or wrong, but I think that from if you were to pull every GM in the league about what this would be, I think a majority of them would be you can't give a player that much.
Well, okay, so, and I'd really like to talk to you until 1:30. So, because I think we could talk the whole show about this, because I love this. It's fascinating. One of the things I absolutely love.
Josh needs to eat sandwiches the rest of the afternoon. So.
I love roster construction and allocating of resources in the salary cap. It's one of my passions. I absolutely love it. I'm a dork that way. So when they traded Tyreek Hill, before that happened, there was a part of me that said, I can't imagine this all. What will it be like without Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce in this offense? And then it's like, okay, they traded Tyreek Hill. You're going to have to imagine that because it's reality now. But they still have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I can't imagine this defense right now without Chris Jones. And even going into next year, what's it look like? Well, it looks like no Tyreek, Travis, or Patrick on that side, because who's then stepping up and filling in? Because if we complain about the linebackers in that game against the Bengals, well, it's easier for the linebackers if the defensive line is good enough to keep those offensive linemen off of them, and hopefully Brandon Williams can maybe do that if he's active. That's a little aside. Hopefully he helps out with that. But I don't think this team gets better by having less Chris Jones on the field. It's obvious you take Chris Jones, you're hoping to then make yourself better overall on the defense, but you're not still sitting there and saying, well, if there isn't Chris Jones, well, you still have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce to at least get you through on the offense, and that's just not the case on the defense right now.
And I mean, it's an incredibly difficult decision because, and the only difficult decision I'm ever going to have is playing Madden or front office football, and I got to make that decision. But I tell you what, I mean, I can't let Chris Jones walk. I mean, because I love the guy. You want to keep him.
What if you get a first and a second? What if somebody's offering you?
That's what I'm saying.
Because Buckner got the 13th overall pick. Brinson Buckner, was it Brinson or DeForest Buckner? There was a Buckner there for the Colts now. That brought back the number 13 pick. I don't know. That's the waters they'll be swimming in, and that's the decision that Brett Veach is going to have to make, and that's why he gets paid a lot of money. And Andy Reid's going to be right there along with him and making those decisions and figuring out what it is. And Croatia just beat Brazil in a shootout.
Matt, your thoughts?
Croatia just beat Brazil.
I still think you need to decorate this tree out here because it's just a beautiful... Is it a fir?
Croatia just beat Brazil in a shootout 4-2.
I'm sure it was on the up and up.
You say FIFA stepped in.
Nothing crooked ever happens in FIFA.
We need you to hit this shot off the post. Oh, and there's a lot of tears. We'll take a
I
time
know,
out.
you can't fix penalty kicks, right?
Yeah, that's tough to do. I don't know. We'll take a time. It depends on how much you can pay. More Zone coming up next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Let's go next to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Patrick. Good to see you.
Good seeing you.
Hey, you're working with a new center now.
Yeah, he broke up. I don't know if that's just me or Matt. We got you.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Matt Derrick hanging out with us, Chief Digest. All right, Broncos. 9-point game.
We
Chiefs
did
are
not
favored
spend
by.
much time talking about the Broncos today, did we?
Well, I mean, it's
We
just
traded
like
Chris Jones more than we talked about the Broncos. I'm pissed.
I didn't.
we talked more about catfish than the Broncos. And
That is true. That is true.
Speaking of the Chiefs food this
would
weekend.
have to get catfish to lose to the Broncos.
Hey, there it is. That's better than mine.
I like that. That's very good.
That's good work, man.
I do my best.
Is there a concern? It's a 9-point spread. Concern of a letdown at all in your mind? The whole Bengals beat you twice. Don't let it.
Only
don't let that
because
happen?
they lost last week.
Mhm.
If they had beat the Bengals, letdown certainly possible. But I mean, I just have a hard time believing that this coaching staff and this team's gonna have a letdown after losing a game like that.
I'm hoping so, but I thought the Colts were more inept. I think the Colts were more inept when they played them than the Broncos are right now.
But the Chiefs weren't coming off a loss against the Colts.
Against the
when
Chargers.
they played the Colts, they weren't coming off a
loss. I see what you're saying. Because they had beaten the Chargers
they
the week
beaten the
before.
Chargers.
But oddly enough, I think they beat the Colts if they lose to the Chargers. So I think they split those games.
Yeah.
So that would tie into the. But to me, it's not like I don't think they didn't circle the Chargers game on the calendar, right? Like if they
But
actually.
that's always a big game.
It is. It is.
And it was an exhausting game. You took their best shot.
Yeah.
They took a lot out of you.
They certainly did. And then the Chiefs went and laid down against the Colts for some reason.
And then they got ticked off, and they took it out on the Buccaneers the next week.
Yep. So
that would be my expectation.
Let's hope they take it out on the Broncos.
This game, though, to me feels a lot like Chicago in 2019. The Chiefs go into Chicago late in the season. Game didn't mean
it was like 22-3
for
or something.
Anybody exactly. I mean, it was an incredibly boring, nondescript, workmanlike game. It's what I think that he got with the Chiefs right here.
I got to look up what that game was because that was kind of like 3 in a row that were just boring, nondescript.
Yeah.
In 2019 after they started.
I mean, they dominated. I mean, the Bears were never in that game.
Yeah. So they 26-3. Damn it.
Yeah. I mean,
but the week before was Broncos at home 23-3. So they beat New England on the road where Breeland makes the play at the end to knock it away on 4th down and goal. They win 23-16. And then the next 2 weeks they have the nondescript 23-3, 26-3. And then that blast week 17, game 16, where the Chiefs are playing the Chargers and Kevin Harlan's, I'm calling both games. So, yeah, a couple of nondescript and then a great ending to the season, an even better ending in the playoffs as well. So, do you have a final score?
I think Chiefs win pretty easily. I am going with the Chiefs 24-9.
24-9. Okay, they don't get in the end zone. You don't let that team in the end zone. Okay,
That's the first single-digit prediction I think I've heard.
They might.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe the Broncos get a touchdown and 2-point conversion. No good.
That's a good point. No, they get a touchdown, miss the extra point.
That too.
Or your scenario.
A
Whatever
lot of
it is.
options on the table.
I've got 27-10. Is what
touchdown
I've
and a
gone with.
safety.
There it is. And the Chiefs take the safety just for S's and G's.
Because I know Beards is going to go 3-2.
It's got to be well, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to give it away.
Yeah, I don't want people to predict Beards' prediction. That's no fun. It could be anything.
Yeah. I'm not going to predict what Beards is going to predict. He's so unpredictable.
He could predict anything. He could even predict 3-2.
I predict he's going to beat Josh up for a sandwich. For some catfish.
I predict we all should. I predict we should do the show while driving to Westport.
I'm with you there.
As you should.
To then beat up Josh.
Giddy up.
I will fight all of you off. For the biscuits!
You're going to be Jon Snow in the middle of it.
Yes!
Everybody's
Yes,
running at
I
his
will.
The only thing behind you are the biscuits. Thank you, Matt. You're the man.
Thanks, guys.
Kendall Gammon next.
Looking for a way to let your
This SportsCenter is brought to you by the University of St. Mary. The University of St. Mary is proud to offer KC's most flexible MBA. Choose your method, online, on ground, or a blend of both. For more details, visit stmary.edu/RSVP. The Raiders collapsed in prime time again last night as John Walford was pulled early in the game in favor of Baker Mayfield, who had practiced one time with the Rams before last night's game. Mayfield drove down the field for a game-winning touchdown drive with just seconds remaining in the fourth, all but putting the final nail in the coffin for the Raiders' playoff hopes. Nick Bolton and Kadarius Toney were both limited in practice Wednesday and Thursday with groin and hamstring injuries, respectively. Everyone else on the active roster was a full participant. We'll hear from Chiefs head coach Andy Reid for more injury updates. The Chiefs look ahead to the Broncos later afternoon. Next in the zone, we're joined by Kendall Gammon to take one more look back at the Bengals and to preview Chiefs-Broncos. This is SportsCenter.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I was going to tell you when you came in here that there's going to be a time when I'm going to be at your house while you're asleep.
On Sports Radio 810.
Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, he's the man. Josh Brisco is hanging out at Atomic Cowboy in Westport with Denver Biscuit and Fat Sully's. Nice biscuit meal and some pizza as well. So good for him. The big news in the sporting world today, literally world, is that Croatia has knocked off Brazil in the Elite Eight, they call it. They call it the Elite Eight, right?
Are you seeing the same footage right now
I
from
am of Croatia. Yeah,
unbelievable.
I am.
About roughly the same population as Oklahoma.
Yeah, but can you imagine if Adrian Peterson were to play? Like, if you mentioned Oklahoma, like that's the thing is all their Adrian Petersons play soccer. Ours play like Adrian Peterson. So big news there. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Mick Schaefer will join us right now. Time to have our conversation on a Friday with Kendall Gammon. It's presented by Freeman Health System. Centered around you, Freeman Health System, your local hospital joining your circle of trust, and Crown Automotive in Lawrence, your Lawrence new and certified pre-owned Toyota and Volkswagen dealership near Kansas City, Olathe, and Topeka. Experience the Crown difference at crownautomotive.com. Kendall Gammon joining us here in the zone. Kendall, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very, very well. Yourself?
I am doing just fine. I am glad that I did not place money on Brazil today, which is what I was thinking about doing. But I just said, you know what? I'm just going to watch. It'll be on in the background, but I don't need to have any more action. We'll see. So I'm happy about that, Kendall. That I backed away from just maybe I want a little more action. No, I'm going to be watching the game. Let's put a little more action on that Argentina-Netherlands game coming up next, and maybe I'll do that, Kendall.
I don't know what to say. Croatia, though, just got to be going bonkers right now. That's all I know. And if there's cowbells over there, they're getting more of them right now.
That's right. That's right. That's the only prescription for the fever.
It is.
It's more cowbell. That reference is just amazing, and Josh has no idea what we're talking about. Probably.
That's sad if he does not.
Sorry, Jason. I was looking at the phrase "biscuit smothered in sweet strawberry sauce, topped with house-made whipped cream," and I got distracted.
Hey, Beards, why is his mic up? Why is he allowed to talk during this at all? Like we made a deal, Beards, you and I. We said that Josh talks no more until there's
biscuits.
Till there's food in front of me.
See, I'm hoping he's bribing me with biscuits, but it hasn't happened.
Ooh,
that's right.
Okay.
His mic stays off until you get biscuits or I get biscuits. One of the two.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yes, that's exactly right. Kendall Gammon is our guest. All right, Kendall, let's put a bow on the Bengals game, and we can talk about some of the other things around this Chiefs team, and then look at the Denver Broncos. But what was your takeaway and reaction to the 27-24 defeat at the hands of the Bengals on Sunday?
Well, you definitely can't put a bow on it. I know that for sure. That was no present. It was tough. You know what? You and I talked about it a little bit, which was, in my mind, if the Chiefs were going to win, they needed to help the defensive back side of things, and that needed to come from the pass rush, and we essentially got none. There was very little pressure. They did a nice job, Cincinnati did, of taking Chris Jones out of it, whamming him early, which is, for our listeners, letting him get up the field, using his momentum against him and people coming from the side as opposed to just front on to take him on. And then the other people who had the one-on-ones weren't winning. And then you've got to give Joe Burrow's credit. I mean, he stood in there several times, took some hits, delivered on time, on target, and it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's always that the weighing and juggling of the frustration of your own team versus knowing that those are professionals and that's a damn fine team over there. And I said it on Monday, Kendall, that there is no more from me of, well, the Chiefs are better, they're just going to have to go out and prove it. Whether they are or not 1 through 53, that may be the case, it may not. One thing I do know is this Bengals team this year is better than last year's Bengals team. That much I am for sure of what I saw in the game on Sunday.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And if you think about it, I think I even heard you say it earlier in the week, which is, I mean, just like the AFC West. I mean, you can't take anybody other than the Chiefs until somebody beats the Chiefs, just like you can't think that the Chiefs are going to beat Cincinnati until they actually do it. And I don't really completely buy that Cincinnati's in Kansas City's head. It's just they've gotten beat. They've been some close games. There's been some meltdowns at times, i.e. the AFC championship game in the second half. But it's two evenly matched teams. I say this all the time. Normally 5 to 6 plays make up the game, the difference in the game, even when it's a bad team and a good team, let alone when it's too evenly matched and it's just a play here or there, and that's exactly what we saw on Sunday.
So one of the things I was going to ask you is what you just said there is, not necessarily think that the Bengals are in the Chiefs' head, and that may or may not be the case, but are there teams to where a group of players on one side of on the field have a psychological or a mental advantage over the other one, like that team over there, like, wow, we think they're going to beat us. Does that happen in the NFL, or is that created on the outside looking in?
I think it does to a limited degree, not to the degree that we see it from the outside. But I think the last time that was going on much was with the Patriots and that dynasty that was going on. I can remember back in my day with the Steelers and. It was the Cowboys a little bit when you had the triplets there and Aikman and Irvin and Emmitt Smith. I mean, that was tough sledding. So there are some of those, but for the most part, the guys, they get into the league because they're good and they're confident and can be overconfident at times. And generally, if that's the case, you don't get too awfully intimidated. You generally don't let people get in your head that much.
Yeah, and if there was one side, it's probably been the Chiefs and Mahomes and Andy Reid that have been on the positive side of that.
Yeah, I would agree, and I can tell you right now, I don't know what the other Bengals are thinking or the head coach is thinking, but I would bet the house. I would definitely bet a couple houses that nobody gets in Joe Burrow's head. The guy. We will just say he's plenty confident. I mean, you try to get to that red line between ultimate confidence and arrogance and not going over the line too much. I think he gets over the line a bit, but he backs it up.
Yeah, he certainly backed it up against the Chiefs. Kendall Gammon is our guest. Each time we talk with Kendall is presented by Freeman Health System and Crown Automotive in Lawrence. The field goal by Harrison Butker, the 55-yarder pushed to the right. What did you see on that kick?
The operation wasn't as good as it normally is, and from 55 yards out, that can affect it. I think if you asked Harrison, he would say no, it didn't, and maybe he has been asked, and I'm not sure what he said. But in general, I don't buy the fact that he's hurt and he can't make that. I mean, that's a makeable field goal for him. He just pushed it a little bit. I mean, he is one of the best kickers, even as he is hurt. But hindsight 2020, you can go either way with that. I was a little bit surprised that they kicked it, but I can understand it as well. And it's just one of those things. If he kicks it and he makes it and defense holds and everything goes as planned, then Andy Reid's making the right decision. As it is, things didn't go that way, and now all of a sudden we all question it. And that's fine. That's what we're supposed to do, and that's what everybody expects. But, you go with your gut feeling sometimes, and I think that's just what Andy was feeling at the time.
I know it would affect me, but I'm not a professional kicker where you have done the operation thousands and thousands and thousands of times with all of the practice and everything. But is there a chance that, Tommy Townsend, who did a great job of holding, getting the ball and putting it down and then spinning it at the last second, can a kicker be thrown off by seeing the ball spin and just a slight hitch, pushes it to the right from, like you said, 55 yards, everything's going to have, the operation's going to have to go smooth, and Butker's going to have to swing his leg at the right spot, connecting with the ball the correct way to send it down the middle, because any little bit of an angle right or left is then made
it's
to be
magnified.
even. Yeah, it's magnified. That's exactly right, because of how far it is. Is there a chance that seeing that ball spin, can affect a kicker just even the slightest to make it, go to the right and miss that field goal?
Oh, yeah, no question. No kicker wants to see the ball spinning. They'd love to just see it set down like it's there on a tee when they practice by themselves. It does make a difference, and it's magnified more, Jason, as you get farther out, as every little bit that doesn't go as planned, the farther out you get, the more chance there is for error and pushing it one way or the other. And, I think to a degree that's what happened. That being said, you give me a choice of what snapper I'm going to take in the league. I'm taking James Winchester for a myriad of reasons, not just his snapping, but his coverage ability and his blocking ability, plus being one of the best human beings you'll ever be around. So those things happen.
Yeah, there's a number of players I would bet that are kicking themselves in that game. Joshua Williams went and tweeted and said, "That's on me, and I'll do better." And I don't think anything of the game is on Joshua Williams. He played that 3rd and 11. Like, he played it extreme for a rookie against T. Higgins. It's just sometimes the other team makes a good play. Sometimes the pitch comes in on 3 and 2, and he beats you, you tip your cap, and you go back to the dugout. And that's one of those to where you tip your cap and go, "I can't believe you made that throw and that catch, but I was there. I thought I had it defended," and that's why you guys are Pro Bowlers in that position. Joshua Williams said that, but Travis Kelce on his podcast said that, he cost the Chiefs the game, and it's, his fault, and it's not going to happen again. I don't think it's to the level of what Travis Kelce is saying, or even Josh Williams, and certainly not James Winchester, but I would bet he probably puts himself in the category of the players that feel like they let the team down, because when you're in that position, and I know talking with you, that snap is probably going to stay with Winchester for a while.
Yeah, it does. You think about it, but you do have to let it clear and move on. But what you said is right about Williams and also Travis Kelce. Certainly wasn't on them, and certainly not Kelce, who is I don't even think arguably. He is the best tight end ever to play the game at this point in time. And but there's also a reason he's that good, which is he expects so much from himself. So when that happens like it did, he puts the blame on himself. And quite honestly, that's a good thing in the fact that that's what you got leading in the locker room is he and Patrick Mahomes and some of the others who they don't point fingers. They just look at themselves and they pick the others up. And, we obviously know that Travis Kelce is a huge reason why the Chiefs are as successful as they are right now. But you've got to appreciate that because they believe it. They know they feel like had they performed better, they would have won that game. And I would say every player that played in that game literally could come up with a couple scenarios where if they'd done something a little bit different, it could have made a difference in the game.
Yeah, and I think it was the biggest play of the game is that fumble, and Kelce's great and all that stuff. I don't think it was the only reason they lost. Obviously, if you're saying, well, he cost his team the game, I think if he doesn't fumble, they go down and score, but it doesn't mean that if he doesn't fumble, then, they have to punt, right after that or whatever it might be. They had scored touchdowns, but it was massive, and he, blamed himself in the podcast, and he was asked by his brother that, okay, so are you now focusing more? Are you, doing more stuff to protect the football? And Travis was like, oh, your first instinct is that you're going to hold the ball as tight as you've ever held it before and all of that stuff. And he's like, but if I start to focus more on that, then I lose other things of my game that make me the player that I am. How easy is it then for Kelce in the ball being stripped from him? Winchester in the ball just being even slightly off can make a difference. And, Butker's good enough that you can swing through it because it was a good hold by Tommy Townsend. How easy is it that when you say, well, Winchester will clear that and move on, is it easy just to, clear that from your memory, get back out there and play, and it's not something that you're thinking about, that Kelce's not going to be thinking about not fumbling, and then it can, come back to bite him?
I don't know if it's easy the first time you do it and deal with things like that, but that started in middle school and high school and college and even earlier in your career. By this time, you know how to clear things. It's one snap and clear. And you've got to understand that it's creating a mindset of it's Stuart Smalley looking in the mirror and saying, I'm good enough, I'm bright enough, and gosh darn it, that people like me, and I'm things like that. You've got to be reaffirming. I always talked about it, self-talk. I mean, we're constantly having conversations with ourselves inside our head, or at least I am, and I don't know if that's normal or not. But anyhow, you're always talking to yourself about how you're doing, how you're being judged, how you're performing, and you've got to be intentional with your performance talk inside and what you think you're doing, because otherwise, if you don't believe in yourself, but then nobody else is going to, and that can carry out to the football field. But at this level, you finally got there. Normally.
That's 2 Saturday Night Live references already that we've had, so very good.
More you can do. Trust me, I've got more, Jason.
I'm with you on that one. Kendall Gammon is our guest. How long did it take you? Like, you're now motivational speaker. You talk to those, and you're discussing the things that you're discussing now, believing in yourself, believing in your performance, and bettering yourself and becoming the best version of yourself over time and continuing to work on it. When did you sort of get that mindset through your career of, okay, bad snap, put it behind me. Okay, I didn't get my lane. I didn't cover it the right way, and it was a bigger gain, or whatever it might be, to where it's like, okay, clear it, move on, the next play, even though you're in front of 70,000 people that are all saying, Kendall, it's your fault. Everybody's screaming and yelling, and it's like, oh, they're all mad at me. But that's cool. I'm just going to go out there and clear it and go play better the next time.
Yeah, you know what? It's a great question. My rookie year with the Steelers, my second preseason game, I had a poor punt snap. It skipped back there, which for our listeners, that's basketball, not football, so you're not supposed to be bouncing the ball back there. The snap got off, but as I'm running off the field, I'm about 5 yards from the sideline. I think I told you this before, and Cowers' chin was in my face already. And he just lit me up, and that led to a poor field goal snap, which I can still snap to this day and be fine with it. And what I did was I let one bad thing cost me another, because I was in my head. And it was then that I started building the mental toughness, and he helped me build it my entire rookie year, because he was just on my behind the entire time, to the degree that I really wanted to deck him and really take that chin out a little bit. But I thank him for what he did for me, because right now, in my mind, you can't get to me. I've got thick skin, and that's a mindset that's created. It's intentionally created, and with persistence. And he was a big factor of that. If I don't play for him earlier in my career, I don't know what happens. I don't know if I play 15 years.
Interesting. Kendall Gammon is our guest. He is presented by Freeman Health System and Crown Automotive in Lawrence. The Chiefs get ready for the Broncos, and they have won 13 games in a row against the Broncos. Patrick Mahomes is also 13-0 in his career in division road games. Boy, if we talk about a mental edge and a psychological advantage of Bengals, Chiefs, and things like that, maybe it's not a mental edge, but it's if it's football or just one of those things that happen. But this is as dominant of a stretch against what is a good franchise organization overall that's respected in the Denver Broncos, but it has just been total domination with the Chiefs and the Broncos. What do you make of this matchup this weekend, and the fact that the Chiefs have had this the last quarterback to beat the Chiefs for the Broncos was Peyton Manning?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, what they've got going on up there a little bit, it sounds real disrespectful, but I say it. I mean, it's a little bit of a clown show. The offense and what they've got going on is just, I don't know, it's dismal. And Russell Wilson has been a huge part of that, and he doesn't seem to really resonate and connect with his team. He seems above it all. I just learned recently that he has his own office. His representatives have their own office inside. Too. That's unreal. I mean, I don't think you could do anything more to separate yourself from your teammates than to do something like that. And I just don't get it. Their defense is obviously good, but the offense anemic. I think they've scored 45 points collectively in the last 4 games, so 11.5 a game, or 11.25. And because I know Joshua was checking right there. But all the same, it's rough. This is the site. This was the site of Patrick Mahomes' first win.
Yeah.
He got to his rookie year. He got to start that last game because it didn't matter for the playoff side of things, and they have been dominant, and it's amazing. I don't expect it to change either.
It's the site of his. Oh, sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I put down all my food for 1 second, even before that stray that I totally earned. But I don't want you to throw anybody under the bus, Kendall, or anything. I guess you decide if there's anyone you want to throw under the bus. But when you look at all of that dysfunction and all all of the issues that seem completely strewn throughout that organization right now, coach and quarterback and all of the stuff going on the sidelines. Like, do you have anything like that from your playing days that you can think of, or like what it's like to be in a locker room where you just don't know who you can have any faith in?
I'm trying to think here. Yeah, I don't know that I could name names, but sometimes the stress level gets hard, and it just gets to people. I mean, this is a high performance business. I can remember I had one head coach at one team, and I mean, Saturday night he gave the Winston Churchill never, ever, ever, ever give up, and we go and we lose on Sunday, and he comes in Monday and. He's like, yeah, I retired. I quit. So I was like, okay, I don't know what the heck's going on here. I remember after that game, that was that was a year after I left the Steelers, and I remember after that game, coming into the locker room, and I mean, if it wasn't bolted down, it had been thrown around the locker room, and you've just got a Gatorade spewing all over the place, and I'm just like, I don't know what to think. I was in the Super Bowl less than a year ago, and I'm here. I mean, it's interesting stuff. The pressure gets to people, and then they start doing crazy things. And I've never seen anything to the degree, honestly, of what I hear is going on in Denver. And I spoke to quite a few people this week, and man, I don't know. The fact is they can't afford to cut Russell Wilson. I think he would have to be on there for the next 3 years at least, if not 4, because it would decimate the salary cap, or they literally couldn't do it. So this is a move that I think has hamstrung them for the foreseeable future.
So you don't need to name any names or anything, but that coach didn't come in and go, playoffs? I'm not going to talk nothing like that. So
it was absolutely nothing like that.
Yeah,
that pitch wasn't even close to the pitch that he was on. And that being said, that's one guy that I have a lot of respect for a lot of different reasons. And so that just shows you that it can get to anybody.
Yeah. Kendall Gimmon is our guest. All right, do you have a score in mind for this game this weekend? Chiefs favored by 9 in Vegas. What do you think happens there in Denver?
Yeah, I've had 24-14, so right around the line. I think I just don't think the offense of Denver can do that much. They haven't been. I mean, if they put 14 up, that's 2 3/4 more than they've been doing. That's for you again, Josh. And I just think the offense is ready to get going for Kansas City, but this is a good defense of Denver, so I'm kind of seeing it right around there. It could go a little bit more, but either way, it could be a trash touchdown at the end for Denver also. I just think this is a game that you've got to work to lose.
Real quick, and it kind of goes back to the organization thing, but how difficult would it be to be a part of a team where, the quarterback is so important to a franchise, and the move that was made was to bring in a franchise quarterback that, boy, all the reports from the outside, from those that are there, seem to be that there just isn't a whole lot of liking or trust or whatever it might be with Russell Wilson. People have said that they don't even know him. You mentioned he's got his own, office with his own quarterback coach and his own trainer that's in a different part of the building. And if you're a player, like, you see Russell Wilson come down when the media is there, and he comes down and the media's in the locker room, and then the media leaves, and then he leaves the locker room, like he's doing these things for like the cameras. Like, how difficult would it be, like, to be like, man, and just be like, man, that dude's a clown, dude. Like, I got to go out and play, and this is a year of my career that I'm playing with this dude, and this is where I'm at under contract. Like, how you've got to be a professional, but man, it's got to be difficult. I'm just saying, if that were to be the case somewhere, whether it's in Denver or not, of trying to believe in a guy that's supposed to be the leader that you just feel like is fake, and you don't really know him, and maybe you don't care to know him. I don't know.
It would be very difficult. The NFL is about one thing, which is respect. Respect for yourself, respect from your teammates, and respect from the team that you're playing. And everything that he's doing, if it is the way we're hearing, and where there's smoke, there's fire. So even if it's not as bad as we're saying, it's not great. And it's hard to respect players like that. And if your teammates don't have respect for you, I don't know how you could even function. I wouldn't know what to do. I was always very proud of the fact that even as a long snapper and a backup offensive lineman, not playing that much, but doing the long snapping, which, let's be honest, after the punter and the kicker, I'm the worst athlete on the field. but they had respect for me and what I did, and they knew that I wasn't going to let them down. I mean, case in point, I was elected a player rep for the NFLPA by my teammates 10 of my 15 years, and it's because they knew I cared and that I respected them and I wanted to help, and I appreciated the respect that they gave me back. And I'm going to tell you right now, as a leader on a team, if you don't have that respect, then you're just simply not the leader.
Yeah. Kendall Gammon with us. Kendall, you're the man. Really appreciate the time, sir. And enjoy the football, and we will talk next Friday.
Sounds good. Take care, gents.
Absolutely. There's Kendall Gammon. Presented by Freeman Health System, centered around you. Freeman Health System, your local hospital joining your circle of trust. And Crown Automotive in Lawrence, your Lawrence new and certified pre-owned Toyota and Volkswagen dealership near Kansas City, Olathe, and Topeka. Experience the Crown difference at crownautomotive.com. We will take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling, tell you more about where Josh is. He'll be there till 2. Mick Schaefer will join us. Yeah, I shouldn't just. He'll be there until at least 2.
That's right.
Mick Schaefer will be here until at least 2 as well. We'll hear from Andy Reid in the 1 o'clock hour as we continue with more Zone right after this. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
We were hanging out with Mick Schaefer from NBC 41 Action News. Mitch, you were on all these, or Mick, geez Louise.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, hanging out on a Friday edition of The Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB, Jason Anderson, Josh Brisco, Beards, Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director, hanging out with us. Brisco not here. He is at Atomic Cowboy.
Whoa.
Yeah, enjoying some food while he is on the food. I mean, he's on the stream, and so, I can pull up the stream and see that, him doing that stuff.
That's
and
good.
eating, but,
keep an eye on him.
Yeah, but I got to
James and Mitch, I have some incredible news for both of you.
Yes, Jerry, go ahead.
I'm not gonna tell you about Atomic Cowboy. I have a sermon to preach because we just got the strawberry shortcake biscuit smothered in sweet strawberry sauce topped with house-made whipped cream.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not leaving, Jason. I'm not coming back, and you can't make me. This is where I do the show now.
This is now my home.
So I had the choice. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Matt Derrick had this issue also, Mick, and I really do apologize. Next time
I could have gone either place.
Yeah, so you should have come here at 4144 Pennsylvania Avenue in Westport, Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon, which is the umbrella over the top of Denver Biscuit Company, which the whole vibe in here is unreal. I think Denver Biscuit Company has the best brunch food in Kansas City. Fat Solis in the lunchtime and afternoon for New York-style pizza and burgers. I just had a burger a second ago. Let me check the menu, the Lights Out burger. It is legit lights out. Sports all day, drinks all day. A great place to hang out for literally any reason. Like, this is the thing about it that if I could just bring everybody in here to just look around for a second, and God forbid I get you to sit down and take one bite of food, I will never have to tell you anything else about this place ever again because you'll know it for yourself. But it is unreal. You could have a business lunch here. You could get here on a nice little maybe late brunch on a Saturday and soak all that up. And also this weekend, today, tomorrow, and Sunday, as we get ready for Chiefs and Denver, more food from Denver that will be eaten by Kansas Cityans, being the Broncos. They've got the 8-10 drink specials. You get the No Place Like Mahomes shot, served with a Boulevard unfiltered wheat, and the Let's Hide shot, along with a Coors Light. Those are both $8.10, those little drink duos there, plus the food's unreal. I just legitimately, guys, am having such a lovely time. They keep bringing us food. Everything I've ever had here has been perfect, and I think if you walk in, you're going to get it immediately.
Do you have like a hard drive that you can put and storage somewhere else that you attach to your computer later on that you have just as a stomach? Because you've talked about the chicken biscuit, you've talked about the double-decker, you showed us the picture of the catfish sandwich. You just said you had one of the cheeseburgers.
So if you doubt me. Yeah.
So, like...
Yeah, no, I'm doing something that I've never done before, which is eating about half of what's on the plate and then just leaving it and not trying to eat every single thing all the time. But I legitimately, I came prepared with extra insulin today because I knew it was going to be one of those days that you, I guess, remember for the rest of your life, not to overstate it.
I am picturing Josh leaving Atomic Cowboy at some point today, but I'm picturing him leaving there.
That might not happen.
And
so far, you're wrong already.
And looking like Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, leaving the store with all the clothes. It's just boxes of food that you didn't finish that you're taking home to eat as leftovers. Like you're just walking out with all these boxes, and you can't even see where you're walking. You're trying to balance it and looking around. Like Dylan's got to open up the doors for you so you can get to your car. That's what I'm picturing with all of these plates of food that you clearly are not finishing.
No, I think that's about right. The only thing I would add is that if I could get a wheelbarrow, not for all the food, but just for me to be in, I think that would help. And I think Luke's not too big a man to turn down a wheelbarrowing of getting me out the door here. So I think Luke will come through for me, and we'll just be here enjoying absolutely delicious food at Atomic Cowboy, Denver Biscuit Company, Fat Solis. The only thing I haven't tried yet so far is the pizza, and I've heard rumors that the pizza will eventually be here. So the only way I've even survived this much of the menu grazing is the fact that we're mercifully here for 4 hours. And if you come here, you might want to be here for 4 hours also.
No, it's like I haven't tried the pizza yet. I mean, they haven't given me pizza, so I mean, it's just how cool of a place is it?
It's so good.
Well, you're
Mick,
also
Mick, I feel
selfish.
like you would love it. There's a buffalo head on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Pretty Woman was an early 1990s rom-com, Josh, starring Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. They're actors. And then secondly, watch it. That's what they call me watching Oklahoma State games is Atomic Cowboy.
I know that now.
Great name. Well, I work down there, not far from there.
It's your cul-de-sac nickname right there.
Right.
Do you really?
It wouldn't have been.
Yes,
what do you do?
on the plaza there.
Where do you work, man?
I put on makeup for a living and babysit.
That is true.
And yeah,
there are a lot of things that you can describe yourself as. What do you do? Yeah. So Matt Derrick would have had an easier drive south to go to Westport and then over to Arrowhead Stadium rather than driving all the way here and then driving to Arrowhead from where he lives up in Liberty. And Mick would have had an easier time and also an enjoyable meal rather than coming here. And both Mick and Matt were not alerted to the fact that you are there enjoying your food.
This is the stupidest thing that's ever happened to me. I mean, this is so unavoidable.
Boy, that is saying a lot.
I mean, you guys like
so unavoidable.
What is happening here?
That was a very unavoidable mistake.
This is our first time doing a show out here. I wasn't sure, what the invite list should be or kind of what our setup would look like. I promise you, Mick, you will not get left off the invite list next time we're here.
I'm going to get
I'm hoping it's Monday.
Instead, I'm going to get a lukewarm Dr. Pepper out of the Coke machine over here, along with a honey bun. And that'll be my lunch.
Would you like the second half of my Nature Valley protein bar?
Yes, sir. Yes, please. More, can I have some more?
I also stole this from the kids' snack box. It's a Apple Jacks jumbo snack.
You're a child.
Yes, actually pretty damn good. But I stole this just in case I needed something else to put the little Triscuit in my stomach. It doesn't help now. I don't have the Triscuit in my stomach. Though that's what we're enjoying and talking sports. That's what we're doing. Croatia upsets
come out here
Brazil.
instead.
Yeah, yes, I will do that. I'm on my way right now.
I could make it there by 1 probably, and
you could
spend the final hour there.
You could, as soon as we say, hey, let's go hear from Andy Reid, boom, you go there, and it's all good, man. You're fine.
Jason, I'm seeing the Applejack snacks now on the video stream.
Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with. That's what I'm working with today.
I bet they're good.
Yeah,
I bet they're a nice little snack.
That's what I'm working with.
I'm going to eat this artisan biscuit with homemade whipped cream surrounded and smothered in fresh strawberry sauce. Oh, I love it. I love it here.
Cool. Last time,
enjoy the Nature Bar.
Last year at this time, Mick, we were talking about a basketball game that was going to be played the next day. And I tried to warn everybody not to take Mizzou anything less than plus 25.
I lost money. I took...
I don't even know what the line was last year.
It was just a regular bet because we weren't betting here yet. But it was, I got 20 points and took Mizzou and still wasn't enough.
And still lost. And this is one to where I have no clue. I have no idea.
Completely different personnel almost on the Missouri side, and half the team's different on the KU side.
Right.
If not more.
Ken Palm's got us a 3-point game, and it's like, I had a buddy that texted me. He's like, hey, is Mizzou for real? I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
Find out?
I don't know. Like I said, I'll tell you on January 4th because, we talked about this, Wednesday or Monday with the next 5 games for Mizzou, but I have no idea. Like, this is a different feel to where if you said Mizzou won, okay, I could see that. If you said it was back and forth game and KU won, I could see that. If you said KU won by 20, yeah, I could see that. I can't see Mizzou winning by 20, but I could see any of those 3 scenarios taking place.
Absolutely, and I think it helps that, none of these guys from Missouri, including the head coach, have ever come close to being a part of this rivalry outside of Kobe Brown last year, right? Was there anybody else that's left that played in that game?
His brother.
His brother?
Who doesn't play much.
He doesn't play much. And so, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah, I think you feel like, okay, we're playing a really good team. But the weight of playing a really good team that's also a rival and our fan base really wants you to do well in it, I don't think they feel that, and I think that's a good thing for Mizzou.
Yeah, and the pressure is, honestly, it's on one side. Like, Kansas can't lose to Mizzou. You can't lose to Missouri in basketball, not when you're the reigning national champions, and Missouri's, basketball program's been a joke.
It's the opposite of the Border War bowl game argument, to where, it's probably kind of a no-win for Missouri. This is a no-win for KU.
Yeah. Are you surprised by Ken Palm having it as a 3-point game? Because I'm shocked. I mean, I'm not just surprised.
Yeah, but I'm
forward.
I'm often surprised in the whole spread game to where okay, no, this is my daily what the heck, and I'm reminded daily that okay, I don't know near as much as I think I know, and a lot of times those surprising lines ring true, and we talk about them, and we're like, oh my gosh, look at these guys know each other. And then a lot of times they don't ring true, and we just forget about it, ignore it.
Absolutely, yeah, and so and I'm not saying it's going to be a 3-point game because it's just guessing what the line's going to be. Ken Pom is very close whenever the line actually comes out to what his prediction on the game is going to be. It's crazy how often you're like, oh, Vegas put this as a 2-point game. What does Ken Pom have it? Ken Pom's got it as a 2-point game. Oh, okay. Interesting. They got it 2.5. What's Ken Pom got it? 3. Oh, okay. Because he doesn't do half points there because the spread doesn't come out until tomorrow morning. Because for whatever reason, Vegas couldn't possibly put a spread for a college basketball game when neither team has played since Sunday.
Why is that?
I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know what the reason is for that you get the spread day of what the teams are going to be. We have a spread.
Is it just for this game, or is it?
No, it's just college basketball. Yeah. It's just always been college basketball. I can go and bet right now on Georgia versus Michigan in the championship game.
Yeah.
Not the semifinal. Right. I can bet Georgia minus 6.5 against Michigan. I think it's minus 6.5. I actually wrote down when we talked to Braden Gall on Tuesday what the lines were for the potential matchups in the championship game. I can go there right now and do that. And that would be Georgia against Michigan minus 7.5. I can place money on that right now. But I can't bet Mizzou KU. Yeah. Not until tomorrow.
I will say this. I've watched most of the games that KU, K-State, and Mizzou have played this year.
Yeah, I've tried to watch as many as possible.
And I can say this. Of the three, I've enjoyed watching Missouri and K-State more than KU. They're so much fun. They're so athletic. Not that KU isn't. And maybe it's the expectation of I expect
right?
Jalen Wilson and Grady Dick and all these guys to have big games.
And both new coaches at the other spot.
But on the K-State side, they've got some dudes, man, and it's so much fun to watch with Noel and Taquan Johnson, and they're flying all over the place. Mizzou's kind of right there. I mean, I like these. Demoy Hodge is hoppy, jumpy, right? He's
springy.
He's springy. And Noah Carter's been a great East. You have a point guard and all that.
Sean East.
I love Nick Honor's dad bod and everything out there. And
I'll never see it. I'll never not see it now.
Right?
I will now.
How'd you not see it beforehand?
Nick Honor as a dad bod. Also,
but they score, and it's so much fun to watch. And they're scoring more than KU. And granted, they're probably not. They haven't played the schedule that KU's played.
They're also not defending anybody.
And here's what's a bad thing, yet I think more a good thing for Mizzou. Aiden Shaw and Isaiah Mosley, their minutes are up and down. A lot of games they don't play a whole lot, and you would have gone into the season thinking, okay, these are probably 2 of the 3 best players with Kobe Brown. And they haven't needed him, and maybe part of that is, okay, I think Isaiah Mosley might be kind of a knucklehead, but I think, and maybe Aiden Shaw's growth hasn't come as rapidly as they projected or wanted. I think it'll still come there. He's too big and too long and too athletic for it not to be. But that's cool. I mean, they've run this 9-0 start, and these 2 guys that you thought were going to be their bell cows, I think the last game they both only played 6 minutes or something like that?
They have combined in the last 2 games against Southeast Missouri State and Wichita State for a total, both of them combined for 21 minutes of play. And the 80 minutes of basketball 85 minutes of basketball they have played because Wichita State was overtime. So in the 85 minutes of basketball they've played with 5 players out there, so 85 times 5, those are the minutes available, they have played 21 of them. That's I would have been shocked by that. And Isaiah Mosley did not even play against Wichita State.
It's 200 minutes a game you can play, right?
Yep.
And that's 400 minutes.
405 minutes. Well, no.
405.
425 minutes is what you would play because 5 players out there, right?
Well, 200 minutes a game.
With the 5-minute overtime.
And you take it 5 times 5. Absolutely. 425, and they play 21 of them. Wow.
I would have said, wow, they're injured. Hopefully they're healthy for KU in that next game. But it's been odd, and it's a new coach trying to develop a culture with all new guys, and I think he's also trying to learn his team. Missouri fans are watching the game with a media guide, and I think Dennis Gates is watching the game figuring out, what do I have? And how do they play together? And who's going to be my go-to guy? And if I need a bucket, where am I going? And who's going to be somebody that steps up? Is there somebody that has sort of a mentality on this team that's going to take charge? I need to figure that out. Is Isaiah Mosley just going to be out there only thinking about scoring and not playing defense? Is Aiden Shaw, does he know where he's supposed to be on the floor? Which I think is part of the issue, is like, okay, Aiden Shaw, is he doing the things defensively and rebounding that Dennis Gates thought he was going to get from him? Okay, well, in games where there might be a little bit closer, those guys aren't playing. Is that something that we will see as a trend moving forward, that games that might get out of hand, all right, here's Isaiah Mosley and Aiden Shaw out there playing? But I don't know. But if Missouri is going to beat Kansas, I would have expected Isaiah Mosley to drop like 20 or 25 in the game if you'd have told me that.
I know, and that's kind of like the subplot in this whole deal is Isaiah Mosley was the star coming out of Rockbridge over DeJuan Harris. And now you have Mosley on his second college at Mizzou, who's riding pine, and you have DeJuan Harris, a point guard for a national championship team, who's come out and had a great start to this year, whether it's his junior, senior, sophomore year. I don't know. Can't keep track in college basketball anymore.
Right.
Can't keep track. But that's a interesting little subplot of teammates from Rockbridge.
DeJuan walks in dragging his right hand because it's got the ring on it. It's so heavy. It's like, oh, hey, what's going on, man? No, it's not a big deal. This is my arm. It's just, why is your right arm? What's your bicep and forearm in your right arm? Oh, I've been walking around with this ring. That's what happens, Every time I'm doing these 3-pound curls, this ring is crazy. You're right about K-State. I've had a lot of fun watching them. I still don't know if Noel was throwing it to
There's
Johnson.
one of three options.
Yeah, or Carter when he threw it off the backboard.
They called it the volleyball oop because you know how they set it and like multiple volleyball players will go up to spike.
That's right. And somebody will fake and the other one will come.
Absolutely. It's a volleyball loop.
That's exactly what it was. I thought he overthrew it or threw it too high, and I'm like, oh. Not only did he not throw it too high, he had two guys that could have been fighting over it at the time. Yeah, they're fun when they get out and run. And Johnson has been, as advertised on that team. So, I think it's exciting because all three basketball programs right now, you feel like
are they combined like 25-2 or something like that? It's been a great start to the season.
Well, I know they're at least 9-0,
and then one's 8-1. I think K-State's 8-1, right?
K-State, they've only got one loss. I don't know how many wins.
Yeah, I think it's 8-1 for KU State, and then 9-0.
8-1.
And I know we got to break here quickly, but too, I mean, and it's coming at the same time where for the first time since 2003, all three schools are making bowls.
I didn't even put that together. Where you feel good about.
I think it's 2003.
Do all three teams make the tournament? When's the last time that happened?
Good start.
I don't know.
Making that happen.
Certainly is a good
start.
start.
You got to remember, K-State was picked 10th in the Big 12 last.
Yeah, and Missouri
wasn't far off in the SEC.
They were picked 21st in the SEC.
That's amazing.
Weird, right? They actually already counted Oklahoma and Texas finishing in the SEC ahead
their
of them.
next four waves of teams coming in.
And then Kentucky's
both
backups.
Washington schools, every school from Florida.
Kentucky's second five.
Maine was a weird ad, I thought, the Black Bears.
It's weird. Like 1, 2, 14, number 15, Oklahoma, 16, Texas, 17, Kentucky's backups, 18, Mizzou. It's weird. That's why they did that. I don't know. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. We'll hear from Andy Reid in the 1 o'clock hour. We got cuts still to come on the show today. I want to hear from Travis Kelce, and I also want to hear from Steve Smith. We got to do that at some point. Steve Smith Sr., not his son. Steve Smith Sr. talking about Sky Moore on his TikTok. Was it positive? Was it negative? I don't know. We'll find out.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I felt like stuff exploded inside of me.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Josh Brisco is at Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon. Denver Biscuit, Fat Sully's there as well.
It's me. I'm Sully.
What'd you say?
That's me. I'm Sully. I am now Sully. I am now Fat Sully.
You are Fat Sully now.
Because of Denver Biscuits. And I'm happy. This is how I want to live for the rest of my life.
Who gets the ring for you then?
Oh, you know who it's got to be, man. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. It's got to be Baker Mayfield. Let Bake bake. Absolutely. That's the first hour of the podcast, by the way, Jason, is titled "Let Baker Bake," because you got to let Baker bake. I really do think that he's kind of gotten a raw deal a couple of times now. The end incident in Cleveland, I just didn't feel great about, and boy, it's hard to be a quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. So 2 days after arriving in L.A., he ends up leading them on those touchdown drives at the end. Yeah, the Raiders certainly did their part, being the Washington Generals. But absolutely, Baker Mayfield gets the ring today. And as always, who gets the rings brought to you by Ruback Fine Jewelry. That's where I went to get the ring for fiancée Renee. That's been going pretty well, if I do say so myself. So if you are ready to pop the question, you want a custom engagement ring, go to Ruback Fine Jewelry. Visit them online at ruback.co. ruback.co. Also, I can speak from experience here, holiday season and all that. There's no gift quite like the one that comes in a little blue box from Ruback. So I would very much encourage you to follow in those footsteps. Custom engagement ring process was so easy, so good, and I'm so happy with the end result. In fact, here's a story that's fine now because she's doing okay, but Renee was out of commission with the flu. I mean, still is, but doing better. And
I was going to say, she kicked that pretty quick. 24 hours.
No, it's still not great, but it's better. And at one point yesterday, she was wearing the uniform of a sick person, the pajama pants and the several layers of like warming clothes. And she looked at her ring and said, "This is too pretty for the rest of what I have on right now." And that's because it was perfectly made at Ruback. And I will say, looks good no matter what you're wearing. But you'll be very glad you went to Ruback if you go follow in those footsteps. Ruback.co.
Ruback Fine Jewelry. So great, nobody will notice you got the flu.
Exactly.
Why
I
is it
honestly
catchy?
thought for a while it would keep you from getting sick. I thought it had superpowers.
Why wouldn't they just go with that? I feel like why pay for anybody to come up with these jingles? Just ask me. Okay, I got it. Nailed. Figured out for you. And Baker Mayfield is already planning his next progressive commercial there in L.A. with SoFi.
That was amazing. The Rams were on the verge, I believe, of history. Had they lost that game, they would have had to maybe win out to avoid the worst record of a Super Bowl champ, which was 50 years ago, 50-plus years ago. The Super Bowl II Packers came back and I guess had a bad year after that.
Yeah, they suck.
Did I remember
Packers
that game?
Terrible.
That year.
They aimed a freaking trophy out of that after that coach.
That's a good bake.
Stupid. Speaking of Super Bowl winning coach, Andy Reid next.
Sunday, Russell Wilson.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
So what we had planned for this segment, we got into Jack Bleep of what we were going to do here.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Josh Brisco, Beards, Mick Schaefer. Josh Brisco hanging out at the Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon in Westport, 4144 Pennsylvania Avenue. Denver Biscuit there, Fat Sully's as well. We are hanging out in studio today until 2 o'clock. We've got Andy Reid. We'll hear from him coming up in just a little bit. The Fast Friday with Andy Reid. I don't know any other players or not are going to be there. And then we got cuts before the show is over, on tap, predictions. We'll hear if Beards goes 3-2 or not. Mick?
Is there a Denver Biscuit in Denver?
Yes.
No, it's a biscuit Denver.
Does Denver
I think
have
Denver's
a
going to
Denver
put
biscuit?
up. I think I'm at Denver Biscuit Company, and I think the Broncos are going to put up a donut. Is my prediction.
Well,
How about
I'm
that?
going to Denver tonight. Can I get
really?
a Denver Biscuit in Denver?
Yeah, I'll get you the info. I
think
you weren't invited to the remote here today, but you could actually go to
the
the
one in
original
Colorado.
in Colorado.
I think technically isn't any biscuit that you have there at Denver Biscuit. If it's
Jason,
made there.
Jason, you're so stupid. There's only one Denver Biscuit, and it's the ones that I've been eating over and over and over here today.
That's right. That is probably right. Yes, there is only one Nature Valley protein bar in the studio, at least.
There's only one lukewarm Dr. Pepper.
There's only one Highlander. Willie Gay will be at the podium today, so we will know for a fact he does exist. Well, you know what? He did knock down the pass on one of the field goal drives on third down. He got his hand up, knocked it down on third down, got a pass defense, and it.
He showed up a little bit more than Nick Bolton, but then Bolton had like double-digit tackles.
Well, somebody had to tackle somebody.
Well, not all tackles are created equal, right?
Yeah,
If you're tackling right.
Kavika Mitchell had like 120 in a season. So it's like, hey, a guy had 100 tackles in a year. Well, somebody's got to tackle somebody. It's just like, they're not going to score a touchdown every time they touch the ball. I mean, somebody's going to make a tackle. That is true. Like Nick Bolton did show up more on the field, but it was more of the like, what's going on? Like what? How did the guy gain 4 more yards after Bolton hit him? Like, it was an odd linebacker game, man. I don't know.
He's already tied the Chiefs' franchise record for most double-digit tackles in a season at 7. And he's got 5 more games left.
Wow. That's Nick Bolton.
Nick
you're
Bolton.
talking about, yes.
I think he's tied with Donnie Edwards. This is the guy.
Yeah.
I remember right.
I saw a mock draft this morning, Mick, and the only reason
Are you jumping off the Nick Bolton bandwagon?
No, not at all.
Hey guys, hold on real quick. Sorry, this took me a second. I just wanted to offer it. Juan Thornhill, 10 tackles in that game.
Yeah.
Just for tackles don't mean you play good football.
Certainly wish they were
11.
the 11th.
Would have liked 11.
Apparently,
although did he get credit for that?
I don't know, but that was McDuffie.
Oh, it was McDuffie that knocked him out. Okay.
Unlike Spinal Tap, Juan Thornhill did not go to 11.
Taking it to
in
11.
that game. Damn it. No, I got, we were at ADA fundraising yesterday. I walked out with not only a Deron Cherry autographed Chiefs jersey, I walked out with an autographed Nick Bolton jersey. I am not off the Nick Bolton bandwagon at all. I just think a lot of people had a hand in playing just a rough game, and it was odd seeing the linebackers for the Chiefs. That is part of a strength that were just like, where are they at? Why aren't they doing it? Who's not tackling? What's the problem there? And the defensive line wasn't any good either. So.
I tell you, I am more invested in the Nick Bolton bandwagon. It's like a double-decker bandwagon now I'm on. We're staying on it. After last week, at the last moment, the Simones got a hold of the Chiefs. They wanted some chief to do some sort of interview with me about their high school experience in the Simones and all that, and they picked Nick Bolton as a great choice. Nice. I met him at the Chiefs facility. We went in their studio, and look, he's from Texas. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know the Simones story or isn't supposed to, and I was just going to ask him about his high school playing days, but he came with notes.
Wow,
he had learned about the Simone Award, right, and the great. The history behind it and the tragedy that initiated it, and he just mentioned unprovoked about it, and he said it's a horrible thing for the family, and but I feel like it's a great thing that they've turned this tragedy into, and I thought that was so cool of him. He didn't have to, but he was prepared. He wanted to know the questions and all that stuff, and so that was really cool of him, and it was a great touch at the Simone awards on Tuesday. So you know what? He can have 9 tackles in a game, Jason, and I'm just fine with it.
Yeah, no, but I was mentioning because I had looked at a mock draft this morning, which I didn't care about except for that the person that had this at CBS had the Chiefs taking Bijan Robinson from Texas, which I had to tell Josh Brisco on the air because I knew it would make his skin crawl that they would take a running back
in the first round.
In the first round, but the pick right before the Chiefs, so he had the Chiefs at 29 because of the record and where they're at the standings are right now. That's how he put it 1 through 32. And the player right in front of the Chiefs to the Dallas Cowboys was Felix Inudike-Uzama. And I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to combine those. Yep. Here's Andy Reid.
We'll get you the rest of who's in. But look forward to the challenge of playing the Broncos. We know they're a good football team and well coached. So our guys have had a good week of practice and look forward to going up there. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
Coach, go ahead. Coach, I understand you still have to meet with Rick, but how did Kadarius Toney look these last few days of practice?
Yeah, so he got out and he worked. Did some good things, moved around pretty good. Didn't give him a full load, but he went out and moved around. We'll see. It'll be, he would be one that's right there on the border of playing, not playing. So.
I know that Joe Tooney came down with a little bit of game time left. Has he been feeling like he's a lot?
Which one?
Tooney.
Actually, Tooney, yeah, he's felt better the last couple of days, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Unrelated to your game, I don't know if you watched last night. Baker Mayfield comes in day and a half of practice or whatever. Can you just kind of wrap your head around what that would be like to get someone ready to play that position in the NFL that quickly?
Yeah, listen, I actually just saw the last probably half of the fourth quarter, whatever it was, and pretty amazing job he did. It's hard enough going in and playing when you have complete understanding of the offense, and then when you've only been there a couple of days, and then you have to run the 2-minute drill to win the game. That's pretty amazing. So my hat goes off to him. He did a nice job.
Have you had what's the quickest you ever had anyone get up to speed? I know it's.
I've never been in quite that situation like that, but it's amazing. Yeah, to answer your question, my hat goes off to him. He's very football smart, anyways. But that's another level.
Coach, along those lines, with having to close out a game, the Raiders were up. You guys have been in similar situations. How hard is it to do that, especially when you guys have to play the Broncos and it can be a tight one?
Yeah, sure. No, this league's crazy that way. The parity in this league is amazing. I mean, everybody has an opportunity to win or lose the game, and so it forces you to play 4 quarters, and there are no easy downs. But that's what we like doing. We enjoy the game and enjoy the competition.
Coach, we'll get Willie Gay in a second here. Just in general, on and off the field, how have you seen him grow this year?
Yeah, I think Willie has grown. He's a father now, and that was an important step that he continues to grow, and he's doing that. He's a fun kid to be around, loves to play, and I'm proud of him for how he's handling himself. Yeah.
Anything else?
All right, good.
There's Andy Reid. Looks like Kadarius Toney is going to be a game-time decision. Joe Tooney looks like more likely to play. He didn't really sound confident in Andy Reid. He's like, is Toney going to play? He hasn't really had a full load this week, and that one's going to be close. And if it's close, what's the point? I mean, why play him against you'd better not need Toney against the Broncos.
It's the line of our very own Nick Jacobs at KCHB 41. When I hear hamstring, I think 4 weeks.
I mean, and with him, it's been, it's Sammy Watkins, just a different version of so far in his career early on, and that sucks. But if you're dealing with him and you're saying he might be an integral part of this offense, and people that are, saying, well, Chiefs really missed Tyreek Hill in this game against the Bengals and didn't have McColl, didn't have Toney, and really need that type of player. Well, it's more important for him to be healthy a little bit later on than against the Broncos. You should be able to go and beat Denver without him. Why take a chance and have it, flare up again or tighten up again? So we'll see if he plays. Here's Willie Gay.
Why? Grabbed out the drawer.
Hey, Willie, how do you feel like you've progressed this year? You've been through some stuff, had to set out for 4 games. How do you feel like the whole year's gone through for you?
I feel like it's been pretty good, man. If I look at myself personally, I feel like I'm getting better each and every week. Of course, there's things I can fix here and there. Of course, there's gonna be mistakes that I make, but all around game, I feel like it's getting better, and I'm back in that rhythm now. It's week 14 now, man. So we rolling.
Well, you've never shied away from the mental stuff, and there were some problems last year. How far do you think you've come as you kind of look back on?
Oh man, I've came far. Like, I used to hate coming to work some days last year, man. But now it's, honestly, it's the highlight of my day. Honestly, is getting up at 6:15 in the morning with the dogs, man, and getting ready to come to work. I really love it now. So it definitely plays a role and plays a difference in the way you perform on the field and in the outside world. So.
What do you think has been the most significant part of that change?
Man, probably just focusing on myself, and keeping the distractions out, whether it's just the outside world and, the media, whatever it is, man, just being in my own world sometimes, and that's what it takes, and that's what I did.
You guys have had a lot of success, obviously, this year. You're sitting where you are. How do you put away last week's game, the disappointment of it, and move forward?
We know it's a lot of games left to play, 4 or 5 games left to play, and that game, of course, it hurt us, but we got a bigger goal in mind, and we got to keep rolling, try to win out, and see what we get after that.
Willie, what do you feel like you gained from having leaders like Chris and Frank, whether it's in front of you, obviously in the play during games and during the week here?
Guys that just don't stop. Those guys both, years 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, and you see them still going like they in year 1 and 2, So, I'm in year 3, and I look at guys like that who still trucking along, man, and they motivate me some days, because they just love the game so much. Some of the best players on the defense, for years, since they gotten here. So you look at those guys, man, it definitely gives you a push. So
with Chris, some could argue that he's having the best season of his career. Whether it's stuff that we can see on tape or if there's something that you can sort of pinpoint otherwise, why do you think Chris is having such a good year?
Man, it's just the way I look at it, man, honestly, it's just part of football. One year be the worst year of your career, then next year you get somebody like Chris get 15 sacks. It's just part of how the game works. I feel like then, like I said, it's year 8 for him. So it's hard to have a great year every single year. Some guys probably can do it, but the way I look at it is, you might have a down year here and there, but he always going to bounce back, though. So, and that's what he's doing this year.
Spags said yesterday that, Darius Harris stepped in for you and he did pretty well. And he's talked to you about that, giving him some reps here and there. What's that been like between y'all just, kind of switching out every so often in the game?
Man, it's been cool, man. I really don't know what to say about that, honestly. I don't know what to say.
The last one. Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow, I know you guys are moving on to Denver, but it seemed like he was having some success in the intermediate middle part of the field. Just how do you guys improve in that regard as you move forward here in the final 5 games?
Just try to, wherever we was wrong at in that game, just try to correct it on the practice field, whether it's matching routes on the back end and middle of the field, like you said. Just check down, try to get to the ball fast and, get them on the ground. So just anything, just like matching routes faster or looking up over routes, so it's anything to stop the big plays.
Thank you, Willie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Willie.
All right, there's Willie Gay, who's not happy with sharing reps with Darius Harris. Right? It's...
How'd you figure that, Jason?
Is there any other way to interpret the, he's been getting some of the reps, and Spags has talked about, sharing, and other guys, getting in there. What do you think of that? It's cool. I don't know. It's been cool. I don't know what to tell you. I think he did. Tell us.
We all often make the mistake that all these guys on every team are they're just like best friends always.
Yay. We are the 3 best. He and Bolton and Harris we are the 3 best friends that anybody could have.
It doesn't matter if it's me or you having success out there.
As long as we win. Here's the thing, though. I think a lot of people were wondering why he was getting reps over Willie Gay in the game. Yes. And Spags was like, these guys are going to need to get reps in the playoffs. Oh, cool. You got 5 games coming up where maybe you don't experiment with different guys in different spots and we got to get them experience somehow. Maybe not there. We'll see. I mean, Spags is seeing something to where, Willie Gay is coming off the field a number of more times and Harris is going onto the field a number of times. But we also saw Spags put Sorensen out there constantly until he didn't. Sure. It's not exactly well, he's seeing something we're not, so you got to put trust in that. I think we were all seeing that Thornhill should have been playing over Sorensen, but he wasn't at times. So there you go. I don't know what to tell you. He did have a blue hat. So at the beginning, I asked him, what's up with the blue hat? He's like, I don't know. It's just the one I grabbed.
First one out of the drawer.
First one out of the drawer that I grabbed. So Willie Gay and Andy Reid. If you missed the Andy Reid, the news to come from Andy Reid is it sounds like Joe Thuney's going to play, and he's going to suit up, and it does not sound like Kadarius Toney is going to play. If you're guessing, Mick and Josh, Toney, does he play this weekend? Based
no
on
Toney,
what we heard?
yes to Toney.
No Toney?
Correct.
Okay.
I think they need another week for a Toney up, but I think they need no more time for a Tooney up.
No.
Thank you for
I
trying.
won't apologize.
I thought you turned his mic off, Beards. I heard it go silent. I thought Beards turned his mic off, and I was going to say thank you, Beards.
Honestly, I should have.
I was clearing my throat so I could really have another equally banger joke coming up shortly. I'm sorry. I'm biscuit hungover right now.
There's
so
a teeny chance for Toney to play, I would say.
A teeny Toney?
I would say it's a teeny tiny Toney chance.
Yeah.
But only time will tell.
And then maybe the last 3 games, at least you'll get Toney.
Yeah. And
I hope they get Toney those last 3 games, really.
No, not going to happen.
Getting them all is important.
So there you go. 913-912-4810. Let's hear from Steve Smith Sr. I wanted to play this because, Josh, we haven't got into the Toney and McCole and injury to wide receivers and Sky Moore and, what he's done. Steve Smith Sr. has a TikTok in which he breaks down and analyzes, players. And he works with, Amazon, right? Or is it Sunday Night
Sorry,
Football?
is this a Toney or a Tooney TikTok?
R.I.P. Tawny. Katane.
It's a Steve Smith Sr. TikTok. Here he is talking about Sky Moore for the Chiefs.
Sky Moore. The Kansas City Chiefs have said they're no longer going to put him on punt return. Sky Moore drops this punt return because he takes his eyes off. So he gets it, but he's peeking. Every punt returner does it. But, Coach, they don't get on him. They don't cuss him out. But look at this route right here. Small little route. Should be down. All of a sudden, gets going. He's staggering, falling, gets hit, and the hit actually allows him to get his balance. Then watch this one. The wiggle, go back, the wiggle. He already sees that the defender is going right. So you know what he does? He gives the defender what he wants. You want some more of the right. So let me go ahead, weave again, make you fully commit, and then try to scamper off. Bro, I'm telling you, when Sky Moore gets it all together, it's going to be trouble.
Steve Smith Sr., pretty good wide receiver in his own right, watching Sky Moore, and the little wiggle he was talking about was against the
Chargers game? I'm trying to think.
It was
a few big catches in that game.
Did they play before the Bengals?
The Titans?
This is the forgotten Rams game.
The Rams. The Rams.
Oh, yes, it was against the Rams. Yes, he's running to his right. The defender is committed to his right. Toney shows the right leg.
Toney does?
Sorry. Sky Moore shows the right leg, sticks it in the ground. The defender then overcommits because he thinks that Sky Moore is then going even more to his right, and then boop, just slides right past him and picks up another 7 or 8 yards. He also showed the catch that he made after the muffed punt, which we've talked about, that comes right back, makes the catch. That's the first thing he was talking about. And then the guy hits him, and he gains his balance by getting hit. So, I mean, look, that's high praise from a guy who's played the position and understands the nuances of how you play the position, how you pick up extra yards, routes that are run, a little wiggle here or there that can make a difference. And Steve Smith saying that it's going to be trouble once Sky Moore puts it all together for this Chiefs team.
That's good. I hope so.
Yeah, I do too. What do you make of that, Josh? Huh? Steve Smith, Sky Moore?
I think he's right. I think the traits that Sky Moore has. Also, it doesn't really surprise me that Steve Smith would be kind of attracted to the overall skill set of Sky Moore.
Yeah, he's going to champion the little guys.
Smaller, shiftier receiver that catches everything thrown his way.
Yes,
that guy? Interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh.
I think there could be some. I think there should be some crossover there. But yeah, no, I continue to be pretty high on Sky Moore. I don't know if I'm sky high, but anymore. But I continue to be pretty optimistic about him. I just don't. I think for him and Karlaftis and for a handful of those other guys in the rookie class, I am optimistic in the long term, and not as optimistic that they're going to have like a breakout game in the playoffs. But I absolutely am still happy to have Sky Moore on this football team.
I think it's look. I think the Chiefs want Sky Moore as a particular role. I don't think the Chiefs want Sky Moore to be their constant motion man that throw the ball out in the flat, hand off the ball to Sky Moore. I don't think they want him to be that guy. I think they want him to be, whether it's a Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, a guy that can go over the middle, quick routes, get the ball in his hands, pick up extra yards. They clearly like something about his maneuverability in the open field. That's why they put him as a punt returner. Yeah. But they want the Tyreek Hill, the McCole Hardman, the Kadarius Toney to do those things. And I don't know if it had anything to do with the fact that you had none of those three guys out there, and it was Sky Moore that was the motion man, and whether that did anything to the defense or not. Did it make them change their defense? Did it make it less to where the Chiefs were as dynamic without one of those guys? I don't know, but they traded for Kadarius Toney for a reason, and they want that guy to be to have that open field space, that quickness, and Toney has shown it. We know McCole Hardman has shown it. Obviously, Tyreek Hill has shown it. I don't think that's the role for Sky Moore.
No, I've seen much more of the Welker type slot guy, possession receiver. He's going to be quick and be fast. He's going to hopefully do the right things out there. I haven't seen the cat quick, elusiveness that, it seemed like Steve Smith was highlighting in that video.
Or the instant acceleration that you get upfield and then boom, you're gone. That Tyreek, McCole, and Toney has the quick to top speed.
I think it's a different kind of acceleration, and you guys are right. I mean, I straight up think if they saw Sky Moore in that role, they don't trade for Kadarius Toney. I mean, I think that one's really a slam dunk. That he was forced into that role because Hardman was out the year they trade away Tyreek Hill, and then they bring in Toney, and he's out as well. I absolutely think he's just the next man up there. But where Sky Moore is explosive is in the breaking of his routes. Like, he can create separation during a route, and that's a difficult thing to do. That does not translate to running those little satellite motions and the jet sweeps in the backfield. That's not his game. That's what Hardman and Toney are for. And if the Chiefs didn't value that part of their offense, they don't draft McCole Hardman when Tyreek Hill's future is in doubt. They don't trade for Kadarius Toney when McCole Hardman's future is in doubt. Whenever they are thinking that Kadarius Toney might be unreliable or going somewhere else, they're going to find another guy to do that who runs a 3.40, which I don't think is humanly possible. But Andy Reid will find one of those guys.
Yeah, and I mean, does the offense and against the Bengals have anything to do with not having that guy out there? And it was, Sky Moore and Juju, and MVS, made some big plays down the field, but also dropped a touchdown that didn't hurt him because they ended up getting a touchdown on that drive as well. But he made some big plays down the field on third down on plays in which the Bengals blitzed and said, we'll leave you one-on-one because we don't think you got somebody that's going to beat us. And so credit to MVS. But you're right. They can't put so much of an emphasis on that position to where, hey, we might not have Tyreek Hill. Let's go get McCole Hardman. Hey, McCole Hardman's a free agent after this year. Let's bring in Kadarius Toney. They can't put that much of an emphasis and feel the importance is there to make sure they always have that guy. And then when they don't, be like, it's not that big of a deal. They're fine. They should be able to just move on.
Yeah, that's my galaxy brain theory on why I'm not worried about the Chiefs' offense is that not having that element of it makes everything a little more congested. And the offense has looked really congested over the last few weeks. And I think that there is a direct correlation to that, to the threat that guys like Toney and Hardman can put on a defense.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of these times it's less of an indictment on the position and less of a deal of like, okay, we have got to upgrade here. And it's more like in the case of Toney and Justin Watson, okay, I really like these guys coming out of the draft. Okay, and they're available. It less like we really got to mine somebody. We got to find somebody who could be like a Hardman or, the Sky Moore's not living up to potential. It's like, oh, no, this guy's available. He's really good. We're going to bring him in and see how he fits. And it felt like that's what the Toney signing was.
The question would be, though, is, if McCole Hardman leaves this offseason, which is the expectation that he's going to be priced out of what the Chiefs would pay, who do they go and bring in to be the replacement at that spot when Toney is not playing? Because there's no way you go into a season saying, well, Toney's that guy, and we got him for 16 or 17 games because he's already missed 2. He's played 2 and missed 2, and I think he's going to miss this weekend, so he'll play 2 and miss 3. So you can't go in next year and say, well, Kadarius Toney, they got that spot filled. So they got to bring in somebody else for that. Because they even had 2 right now with McCole and Toney, and they don't have either one of them. And Sky Moore's having to fill that role.
Well, it might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think it matters, honestly, when you have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
Well,
I mean,
in theory, it shouldn't, but, you know.
I think it does
in theory,
because
it should, I would
impacts the
say, but this
spacing.
year it hasn't. In that, like, I mean, Mahomes is on pace to over 5,000 yards, right? And
well, the spacing is interesting. It's kind of like without Tony or McCole or Tyreek, there's a little bit of the Lakers where everybody's going to be playing inside the 3-point line as opposed to.
That's exactly the analogy I was about to go to. We are on the same page. Nice. That's incredible.
Okay, good. You go now. Your turn.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing as not being able to space the floor offensively in basketball. Yeah, all of a sudden you could have the twin towers of whoever you want to pick in the middle and say, oh yeah, we're going to run our offense through these big guys, and sometimes that'll work. But you need to be able to at least threaten the defense at multiple depths, and so I think that not only does the speed impact deep down the field, MVS can do that, Justin Watson can do that, but horizontally as well, you have to make you have to keep the defense honest, and we even saw a little bit of that, I think, in that fake to Burton pitch to Pacheco to the corner against the Bengals. You need guys who can beat a defender to the sideline, and now all of a sudden that is something that corner out there has to be aware of constantly. And anytime McCole Hardman or Kadarius Toney go in motion, the defense has to be freaking out. And we have seen the end result of that multiple times because it's just confusing. It's too much movement and too much speed. If someone's in man and man coverage and Hardman or Toney go in motion through the backfield, the defender either has to pass that guy off or navigate through his own teammates before the snap even begins. That's the Jerick McKinnon in motion, unguardable red zone play where he starts on one side, runs right to left, and then all of a sudden he's open at the pylon. Well, it's because that guy that was trying to cover him had no chance because of the angles and the speed.
And there's also an element of every time that guy goes in motion, there's a chance they snap it and hand it to him. And sometimes it's ghost, but every time he goes in motion, or be prepared that this guy might get the handoff. Okay, he doesn't. Okay, this time he did, but you just never know when that play is going to come and when they're going to hand it to the guy because they have shown clearly there's at least once or twice a game where they are going to hand it to that guy who's in motion.
Or pop pass. They like to pop pass because it's incomplete if it hits the ground.
That's it. That's exactly right. They got one of those.
But I would say, look, I mean, Hardman's been good at times this year, but has been injured quite a bit. Tony's been here for a couple games. Sky Moore's been a guy, okay, offensively. MVS, I don't think has lived up to expectations. Juju has exceeded them. Tyreek is gone. They lead the NFL in points. They lead the NFL in yards. They lead the NFL in passing yards.
Yeah,
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, but
I don't think it matters.
But what about next year?
Right, yes.
More Zone coming up next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Sony Michel signing with the Chargers after being released by the Dolphins. Vizio Michel is heading to the Raiders.
Good. You deserve that.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Right now, the Netherlands and Argentina are tied at 0 in the 34th minute.
Go Orange team.
I find myself rooting for the Netherlands even though they beat the United States. Is that typically what people are doing?
That's what you probably want, right? And
I heard somebody else earlier this week that was like, bleep the Netherlands. To hell with them. I'm like, I don't know. Just everybody has their own
I
opinion.
love they're all orange unis. Just great.
Orange, you going to pick a team?
It's like red, white, and blue in their flag, but then they have orange unis. It's like the Tulane Green Wave who wear baby blue.
That's right. Yeah, like I didn't root for Cincy last year in the Super Bowl. I rooted very, very, very much against them.
My impulse, I will agree. My impulse usually is to say bleep you to the team that beat my team.
But in the World Cup, I find myself rooting for the Netherlands now.
Yeah.
I think I generally would start just like looking at population and then start rooting for the smallest countries. That feels like the best way to find an underdog. But I'm with you on Netherlands. I'm Team Orange.
Well,
even though I shouldn't be.
Argentina just scored.
Yeah, that might be the kiss of death with 3 Americans all. Yeah, let's go Nether.
By the way, we probably need to mark that for a returner when Josh is like, you know what, I'm Team Orange. Goal Argentina. They just scored right as you said I'm Team Orange. Just a beautiful pass into the box and then a little flick.
Their uniform looks just like their flag. What are they doing?
How boring.
Well, the flag is a horizontal stripe, the uniform vertical stripe. So, I mean, although I don't know that you want horizontal stripes on soccer players. You don't want them to look small and stocky.
I love the Netherlands in that, like, you can refer to them in 12 different ways. The Dutch, Holland, Netherlands, probably some other stuff I don't know.
Ned.
The
Netherlands
orange team.
Ned and ARG are facing off against each other.
That's one of those deals where you could do like man on the street and go out and say who you're cheering more for in the World Cup, the Netherlands or Holland.
Or Holland.
Okay, you say Holland. What about Holland or the Dutch? Oh, I'm going with the Dutch.
I did that at the Combine one year where I asked fans what they thought of a center out of Louisville named Mango Mathiang, and they started like talking about like how good what they liked about him. He was a center for the basketball team.
Oh my goodness.
At the
Here's
NFL
the deal,
draft.
JC. You're the only one on the planet that knew that, though. That wasn't obvious information
but that's the
to
point,
anybody.
Though. No, but that's the point is that they were talking about him as a center in football, like what they liked about. Oh yeah, he could go in the first round. But do you take a center in the first round, a second round guy? And Louisville's got a good football program, so you got to go with that with them. But yeah, I've seen him a little bit, and I'm not sure that they should really go that route. But if he's there, I wouldn't mind them taking him.
Again, you're the only person that knew it. I don't even think his own family knew what sport he played.
That was great.
Todd, the only thing sweeter than a mango is a pineapple and a third-round draft pick. That's my Todd. That's my Mel Kiper impression.
Yeah, I don't know that is the juice worth the squeeze with mango on this one. I'm not sure.
Todd, is the juice worth the squeeze for mango?
Not sure. Todd.
I was at a Final Four years ago at the Georgia Dome, and we did one of those just basic questions: who's playing in the Final Four?
Yeah.
Right? Nobody knew, and then with the Georgia Dome in the background, I would ask, "Where's the Final Four being played this year?" Half the people didn't know.
Shut up.
Half the people walking by the Georgia Dome didn't know.
Is that like when Jordan Clarkson was asked about the Utah Jazz outside of the arena by a reporter that was and it was a man on the street. They asked man on the street about what he thought of the Utah Jazz and how good the season was going to be, and it was Jordan Clarkson. She had no idea, and so his I can't remember what the soundbite was, but his answers were great. It's like he just played along with it.
Aaron Judge's rookie year, I think it was either Kimmel or Fallon put Judge out on the street, just put glasses on him. That's it. Had him sit down with New Yorkers
and
talk.
Clark Kent.
Yeah, and talk about New York Yankees, talk to New York Yankees fans, and talk about the team. Oh, I love that Aaron Judge. Really, what do you like about him? Oh man, I tell you what, he just hits these towering home runs. What would you say to him if you're talking to him right now? I'd be like, hey man, you're really good at baseball. He would take their glasses off.
The fun ones are when they hate that person. Like,
Yes,
what would you say?
yes.
Oh, he's a beautiful. Hey, man.
He's a
what's
bub.
up? Yeah, no, I mean, I was just joking around, dude.
Who was the backup quarterback who was doing? It might have been
Yes.
Chase McDanielson. Actually, I'm trying to remember
No,
for sure.
it was at
Detroit, maybe?
training camp this year. Was it on Hard Knocks? Is that why we knew it?
Well, no, I think the team did it as like a skit because they did another version of it where the backup quarterback. I think it literally might. I'll
You know
see
who
if I
it
can figure
was?
out,
It was
in the team shop.
It was what's his
Case
name? Used
Keenum?
to be at Houston. Used to play for.
I think it might have. No, it was Case Keenum.
Case Keenum, yeah.
Because he was
Houston
because
Cougar.
that's what. Oh yeah, Case Keenum, everybody. Because he was trying to convince. He was trying to convince people.
He was asking
to buy a
autographs
Case
from his own
Keenum
teammates.
jersey. He was at training camp, and then they did
Yeah.
it. Then he did it again in season. In the team shop, he was trying to convince people with Josh Allen jerseys to buy a Case Keenum jersey.
Yep, that was it.
It's a great bit.
Wow, I need to go check that out. I had not seen that.
That's who it was.
That's
Case
really
Keenum.
fun.
I was talking right before Andy Reid started, so we had to abruptly go to Andy Reid. But the mock draft had Bijan Robinson, which whatever, that was fun for Josh.
He's really good.
Yeah, but I thought it was interesting. Like right before that, pick number 28 was Felix Inudike-Uzama, and Pro Football Focus, by the way, their big board has him at number 21 overall in the draft.
He's about to make a lot of money.
But hey, you know what? I wouldn't be mad if Felix Inudike-Uzama is lining up next year in a Chiefs uniform, playing defensive end. I mean, depending on if they have Chris Jones. Like if you have Inudike-Uzama, Karlaftis, and Chris Jones, I mean, I wouldn't be mad about that if that's who they end up getting in the first round. I don't think they get him at 32. They'll probably have to trade up to get Felix. But Pro Football Focus's big board has 7 defensive ends in the top 30, or edge rushers, and 4 offensive tackles in the top 30. So not many offensive tackles that may be there, a number of defensive ends and edge rushers, but I think 2 or 3 of them go in the top 10. And then you start to see which one do you like most? Which flavor of ice cream are you a fan of? So yeah, we'll see. But I thought it's good for him, Defensive Player of the Year, and Big 12 champion, and first-round draft pick.
Lee Summit guy.
And you darn right. Lee Summit guy, God's country, they call it.
Well, look, I mean, you have him. You have it's a great Kansas City's turned into a great place to find interior line talent. Cooper Beebe from Piper, Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year. He's a guy that's got to probably play on Sundays eventually at some point. This year, going back to the Simone Awards, there are 2 guys from North Kansas City who are up for the Buchanan, which is basically interior lineman, linebacker. One's going to Alabama. The other's going to Oklahoma. Okay, you have your Caden Green from Lee Summit North going to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then you have Melvin.
Not happy about it, Caden. Not happy.
You have
Good for you, though.
Melvin Laster, this kid at Liberty North.
Yep.
Who's going to be able to go wherever he wants. He is a badass, and he's only a junior. He's going to be a senior next year. He could go play college football already and just start right away. He is so good.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to see the players around here because it helps the local schools too. Hopefully they would go there, but it helps the local schools if you've got a talent in your backyard.
He plays a lot like Nick Bolton, man. Fast, can hit. Yeah.
Well, there's a black and gold team where he can go be just like Nick Bolton. I mean, it sounds like a plan to me. All right, let's go around the room.
Purdue?
They just lost their coach. You don't want to go there. They just lost their coach.
Colorado. They got Prime now. That makes sense. Yeah, Colorado.
They're kind of local.
Yeah, that actually does make sense. Damn it. I can't even know. Purdue lost their coach. It can't be Purdue. Colorado, you son of a gun. I object. Why? Because it's detrimental to my argument. All right, let's go see. What do we think is going to be the final score in Denver this weekend? Mick, we'll start with you.
32-24. Chiefs, the Broncos get their most points of the season. You hate me right now.
Doing that.
Love to hate me.
Just for S's and G's.
Yes.
Beards, what are you thinking?
Ooh.
I think this is going to be a dumb, stupid, ugly game. I think it's going to be closer than people think. And Chiefs will win. If I have to put a number, I guess I'll just say 3-2 and call it good.
3-2.
Wow, that would sure would be shocking.
Would be the fewest points either team has scored this year if that's the final.
Broncos might do it, though.
Yeah, that's true. Josh?
I'm going to lock it in at 24-13. I'm thinking about that point spread more than I should be, I guess. I feel like I want to take the Chiefs and give the points, and I'm betting on a little bit of a defensive bounce back when they turn the difficulty settings from expert to rookie again.
I'm giving the points and going under. I've got Chiefs 27-10 winning this one. That's what I've got, and if you don't like it, that's too damn bad. Here's what is on tap.
Exactly 37 points, maybe, Jason? We get in on that bet together?
37. We both have 37, right? Yeah.
Sure do.
What's the over-under?
44, right? Is it 44?
It was
God, that is
yesterday
so
when I did the
low.
prediction.
Yeah.
That is so low for a Chiefs game.
I
know
did
it's,
under.
It's so low, but it seems so high, too, at the same time. Like 44. Are the Chiefs scoring 42? How you getting over the 44? Chiefs 42-3. What is on tap coming up this weekend? Well, you got some college basketball this weekend besides Kansas State and Incarnate Word on Sunday at 2 o'clock on ESPN+. Of course, Saturday it is Mizzou and KU 4:15 on ESPN. Coverage right here on Sports Radio 810 with a special Mizzou-KU pregame starting even before the KU pregame at 1 o'clock. That'll be right here on Sports Radio 810. Chiefs Broncos Sunday 3:05. Tomorrow night the Heisman Trophy. That's at 7 o'clock with Stetson Bennett, Caleb Williams, Max Duggan, and C.J. Stroud. Army Navy tomorrow at it's 1 o'clock on ESPN KC. You can if you're driving around here, Army Navy tomorrow in one of the best traditions in college football, that all the championship games out of the way, everything's done, and you can focus on one of the coolest games in Army Navy. That is what's on tap, and it's presented by KC Beer Company, KCBIER.com. A great time of year, a special time deserves a special beer. Grab Kansas City's favorite lager, Dunkel, a rich, smooth, Munich-style brown lager. Go to KCBeer.com, KCBIER.com, and discover all of the award-winning brands.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I just play a braggadocio badass on the radio. In real life, I am very humble.
If I ever host a career day.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, go ahead and mark this in the not surprised category, but T. Higgins may not play on Sunday. You know, he's injured. So,
come on.
So he's injured. We'll see if he plays on Sunday. Questionable. All right, so with that being said, let's get the cuts in.
Yeah, what I talked about Monday. Yeah, same deal. You know, the things we talked about after the game, I'm not going to go into it. I mean, I've already covered that. I'm, again, on to Denver here. So we're trying to get ourselves right for that, and we got to make sure we're right for Denver. Yeah, listen, we're past the Bengals thing. I'm on, way past that. So let's keep going on to Denver. I mean, you're asking me questions about them, but you're asking me to forget about them. So they're forgotten. On to this one.
That was 3 different answers for Andy Reid during the press conference on Wednesday. Keep going. Let's hear from Carlos Dunlap, who would like to poke Burrow down on the ground. I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? I'm not sure. Let me see. Keep going.
Well, then we got the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, and he's so good, and everyone knows it.
I finally saw that video. It is so much better watching
haven't
it.
seen it. Still need to see it.
In the first ever MLB draft lottery, the Pittsburgh Steelers won the #1 overall pick.
Come on. Unnecessary. Hurtful, in fact.
Steelers winning the #1 overall pick in the MLB draft lottery was the big surprise of the night. That was the surprise of the night. I thought the Pirates might win it, but nope, Steelers. Probably have a same-game parlay tonight with Saints and Bucks as well. Call to action. Call them. Give them download the app.
Whoa. What I missed there?
What you missed is the script in some of these that you're supposed to which I typically just ad-lib. I was having a rough read, and so I decided I just need to read it, and I read the call to action, which is what they're telling you to do. You don't actually read the call to action. It's telling you, like, hey, you have a same-game parlay tonight with Saints and Bucks as well. Call to action. Call them. Give them download the app. Call to action. Call them. Do something. I just eject. I'm leaking oil. I need to eject.
Call somebody.
Damn Brock Purdy coming and spread your ass.
Man.
Whoa, what?
You start with the tongue.
Dropping his nuts.
There's one thing I bring to the show every time. It's my nuggets.
Mixed nuggets, baby.
Your Morris jersey came in handy today. I didn't wear the pretty one because I didn't think I should. Oh, I wouldn't want you to get that one messy. What's wrong, sis? I know he's got a girlfriend.
I'm happy for him.
And I'm happy for him. But I'm not happy for me in that situation. You love Joe Burrow,
But I'm not happy for me in that situation.
And all of that, I don't really think Patrick Mahomes.
I am not dumb. That's it.
That was all you wanted me to work on that one.
That Broncos offense is.
Joe Burrow, He's pretty, but dang it, he's talented. And let's be honest, I go for ambition, not look.
That might be my favorite part of the whole thing. I go for ambition.
A shout out to my nephew Callan as a sophomore is getting work with the varsity at Shawnee Mission South. Following in your footsteps there, Greg. I just thought I'd
Nice.
shout that out.
Yeah, well, does he have a lot of the Bucati traits?
He's vertically challenged like me for a little bit, but he's clearly a little more talented as a basketball player. There's no way I would have played varsity basketball at a school the size of Shawnee Mission South like him.
I completely agree with you.
Completely agree.
We got a few positions already taken care of because I'm bringing my luggage with me. And it's Louis.
Oh, Dion. He's got that Louis luggage he's taken to Colorado. Josh, you taking anything home with you from Atomic Cowboy?
I certainly am. I got a massive cinnamon roll here covered in bacon. They brought that out because they're trying to hurt me here. Atomic Cowboy,
annoying.
Denver Biscuit Company, Fat Sully's New York-style pizza and burgers. It's absolutely been a ridiculous 4 hours out here. I will be back as soon as they possibly let me. They're also doing a great joint charity event for the month of December with Great Plains SPCA for looking for newer gently used pet supplies. That's totally independent of all of the unbelievable food that we have absolutely indulged in today. Come on out for the best brunch in Kansas City at Denver Biscuit Co. Come get lunch, some pizza, some burgers. It's going to blow you away. Mick, sorry you weren't here for it.
Yeah, I'm seeing your post now on Twitter.
Yeah.
I am even more peeved.
Very annoying.
It's unbelievable. I need to lay down right now.
Brisco, last 2 days, he was up at ADA in the Northland and Riverside, and now he's over at Atomic Cowboy with Denver Biscuit and Fat Sully's. Curtis is going to be at ADA today as well, off of 635 and 9 Highway over by Park Hill South with their open house going on. So yeah, some cool stuff happening around the city. And the Chiefs and Broncos this weekend. Got to be 14 in a row.
I'll be there.
Have fun, man.
Eat my Denver biscuits.
Have fun. Go get your biscuits, man.
It'll be
Go get
60
your biscuits.
degrees on Sunday.
Oh, cool. Good for you.
Yeah, good for me.
In the corner.
Winter is coming, and so are your first place Kansas City Comets. Get ready for hot winter nights as